My name is John Cunningham with C2 Freight Resources. We are a Hub Zone certified logistics company here in Houston, Alabama. We've been in business for over 20 years, working with the Department of Defense and the federal government, among many other customers. C2 is committed to truckload shipments along with less than truckload shipments across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Our high level of service is what keeps our customers coming back year after year. Our industry-leading transportation management software, along with our tracking software, allow our customers to know where their shipments are at any time, any day. In closing, C2 Freight looks forward to earning your trust and business through actions day in and day out. We know if given the opportunity, you'll be pleased with our service and communication.
Richmar Florist makes every day a special day, from weddings and large events to that little something for any occasion. Richmar Florist has the perfect floral expression, and they're open online 24/7 at richmarflorist.com. Everywhere, every day. Richmar's 2 retail locations offer a fantastic selection of floral creations, gifts, and home decor. Book your free consultation in our showroom for your special event needs, and visit us online at richmarflorist.com today.
The Fast Friday action is over at Indianapolis for today, but it continues here on YouTube with the Elite Racing League and the Mega Driver 86, Mega Player 86 IndyCar Series with the Elite Racing League. We are on track tonight at virtual Texas Motor Speedway. You will not see an ounce of that virtual PJ1 traction stuff anywhere on this track tonight. Our series leader, Henry Bennett, is circling the track right now during qualifications. And good evening, everyone, from the broadcast booth. I'm Mark Gillespie, along with Rishav Kozla. Rish, give us the storylines heading into tonight.
I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about, right? We're coming fresh off the Indy 500 2 weeks ago, where you see there that number 1 car, your championship leader, Henry Bennett, came across the line in fantastic fashion to win the race with a lot of his challengers going out really late on in that event. For Henry Bennett, there's a couple of really cool things that he can achieve here tonight. One of those is to win back-to-back championships. He has a huge points buffer, and we talked about this all season, about just how consistent he's been and how strong he's been. So, yeah, we're looking at ahead of the double points race in Gateway in 2 weeks' time from now. Henry Bennett could still be the championship, the champion decided tonight. Next big thing, Henry Bennett is also in contention to win the Triple Crown, and that's the 3 500-mile races that we host over the course of the season. We started this season with Michigan 500, victor over there, Henry Bennett. We then went to the Indy 500, victor there, Henry Bennett. He has an opportunity to get $50 in prize money, as well as to become the first driver in Elite Racing history to win the Triple Crown of 500-mile races. And these are some huge accomplishments here for the number 1 car.
And Henry Bennett has been dominating the entire season, putting a butt-kicking on the entire field. As we saw during last week's race at Indianapolis, we are watching the real-world NTT IndyCar Series as well. Qualifying is tomorrow at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we will watch as Brian Blauman is qualifying tonight here on the virtual Texas Speedway. Let's go through some of the other storylines tonight right now. The battle really is for second place in the Elite Racing League, right?
Yeah, it really is. Right now it's Adriano Pinheiro, who we know we've seen him win a couple of races so far this season. We know how fast and strong he can be on these types of racetracks. He's the guy right now holding second position, but Chad Frankenfield just a couple of points behind him. Caleb Benchy just a couple of points behind Chad. Victor Del Porto in that battle as well. Brian Blauman, Alexander Van de Sant. Andrew Marquez, all the way down to pretty much 11th position, Nick DeGroot. We've got a battle there separating, what is that, maybe 30 or so points, separating all those drivers. It is a very, very tight balance.
41-point lead, and with 50 points on tap for tonight's winner, plus double points in the June 11th Gateway finale at Worldwide Technologies Virtual Raceway. That is going to change the entire shakeup of the lineup right now. I mean, it is fairly safe to say, basically, Henry just has to start tonight. to clinch the championship.
Yeah, and he's
unless
put himself,
he screws up completely.
Yeah, he's put himself in a pretty good position there, starting from the pole here, as Henry Bennett just does. You should be concerned when Henry Bennett's on the pole, because he's typically the guy who's maybe not the best over one lap, but he is so consistent and so strong over the course of a race. But when he puts that car on pole, man, everybody else in this field should be very nervous right now. Brian Blauman putting it on that front row. I feel like that 29 car has really had a strong run recently, a good run of results. We saw how strong he was at the Indy 500, and I think that was just kind of a coming out party here for this 29 car. Look out for Brian Blauman. He might try to get his first win of the night if he can.
And he is only 26 points out of second place in the standings. So we have to watch for Brian Blauman as well. We also have to watch, of course, for Caleb Bensi, Tyler Fode, and Chad Frankenfield, Alexander Vandersant, the top three rows tonight. We're in the Safe Antifreeze and Coolants 500 at virtual Texas Motor Speedway as they get the grid prepared to roll off right now. Let me get your thoughts on the week in the real world IndyCar Series so far, with all the action on track just up the road from you in Indianapolis this week.
Yeah, it's been really cool to kind of follow that. Obviously, unfortunately, I'm not going to be up at the track for qualifying or for the race, but still going to be really cool to just follow that along on NBC Sports and NBC, of course. Yeah, I mean it's kind of tough to tell. So I don't have access to things like seeing the no-toe charts, stuff like that. So I kind of have to get that all secondhand information, like scrolling through Twitter, stuff like that. I mean, obviously, right now it looks like Honda is absolutely the engine that you want to have in the back of your car, so they've kind of flipped that again. It's been Chevy the past couple of years. We're back to Honda being kind of that dominant engine supplier. I think there were maybe 4 or 5 Chevys in the top 20 or not even. So that's kind of the big takeaway I have right now. But, yeah, I mean, I think you and I were talking earlier. Ganassi certainly looks strong. Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, of course, looks very strong. Andretti Autosport, I think, has found something a little bit later here. I think earlier in the week I was actually pretty nervous looking at those guys, saying maybe they're missing a little bit something. But they're looking a lot better, at least today on Fast Friday. So I can't wait for qualifying. I'm sure everybody at home watching cannot wait for qualifying tomorrow. I know I'll be up at an airport testing, but you can be sure that I will have my phone on me and be following qualifying all day long.
We should bring you up to date on a couple of the drivers that take part in both the Real World NTT IndyCar Series and our Elite Racing Network Racing League Series. R.C. Enerson is, I guess what you could say, on the bubble with the Top Gun Racing entry in Car 75. He has gotten a bit of a late start. The entire team was basically thrashed together at the last minute right now. And if anybody is picking one of the 2 cars that were going to go home when the Fast 9 shootout is over on Sunday, along with the last row shootout, I think we have to look at Enerson, right?
Unfortunately, yeah. We know RC. He's a regular here in the Elite Racing Leagues, and we're about to get going here, and we can continue talking about this. But yeah, I mean, RC he's a talented driver. I think we could be surprised. We've seen it the past couple of years with Juncos, with Dragon Speed in the past. So don't count out Top Gun Racing just yet. But we have a race here on iRacing to focus on as Henry Bennett hits the accelerator, gets going here. We are lap 1 of 334 underway, and I believe that green flag just waves, and Caleb Bensi already slides up into that second position.
Let's watch as they head down the backstretch right now. Bennett back in the lead, Bensi second, Blauman third, Vandersant fourth, Tyler 45th as they head around into the North Chute and come back around to complete the first lap.
It is going to be
This
Henry
is going to be
Bennett.
a fast race, and God, this looks so fun to see cars running 3 wide at Texas, which we don't see in real life anymore.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, look at Tyler Fode in the start he's made. He's already up to third position, and again, we go to these oval-type racetracks. We know Tyler Fode is going to be strong here. He's really found his footing in these cars in terms of just pace. It's just getting that result, and we all remember oh so well that Phoenix race that was really robbed from him late in that race, and Tyler Fode certainly coming back with a vengeance and sets the fastest lap here early on to show how much speed that 40 car has.
And Fode has moved into second place ahead of Caleb Bensi, who tucks in behind him as they weave heading down the backstretch, heading into turn 3. Henry Bennett still is your leader. We still have 2 wide battles back in the pack.
Yeah, here comes Tyler
That's
Fode.
Chad Frankenfield, too.
Yeah, Tyler Fode looking to the outside. So is Brian Blauman looking up there as well as Andrew Marquez goes with the fastest lap here. So this is really looking like fantastic battling. This is what happens when you don't have the track covered in PJ1 up there. This is the kind of battles we'd expect to see at Texas and IndyCar, not kind of the single-file processions we've seen recently in real life. But here we go, Tyler Fode right now challenging Henry Bennett for the lead. Can he make an outside pass work? I'm not quite sure that's going to be possible here, especially in turn 1 and 2, the reconfigured turns 1 and 2 here.
Let's explain exactly what this PJ1 stuff is we've been referring to. It is allegedly a traction compound that, and I say allegedly because it provides anything but traction for Indy cars, but they put that stuff on the upper lanes in the curves just to add traction for NASCAR, and that stuff has pretty much ruined the Texas Motor Speedway track for IndyCar, because once it gets into the pavement, they can't get it out, and it creates essentially one-lane racing in the turns for IndyCar, because these cars weigh about half as much as your typical Cup car, and even with all the downforce they have, they still don't have enough advantage to be able to actually hold the racing line once they get up into that stuff, and it essentially turns the upper 2 lanes into a skating rink in the corners.
Yeah, it really does. You just have to see Takuma Sato's qualifying attempt from a couple years ago as we have our first caution of the night with Gil Ribeiro involved in the 55 car. He just brings his car back to pit road, so we are back under yellow flag. But, yeah, you just go to Takuma Sato's, I think, 2019 qualifying, I want to say. And, yeah, that shows you just how detrimental that PJ1 compound can be. We'll take a look and see what happens here to Gil Ribeiro. Stays low here off the corner, starts going up a little bit high. Maybe just tracks too tight there off the corner. Yep. And
just pranged it off the outside wall back across into the inside. Whoa! And got clipped.
Joe McCattery with a hard hit there, and so that's going to take out that 16 car as well. So both Gil Ribeiro and Joe McCattery out of this race here early on, just lap 8 of 334.
And Joe was tweeting about his car and the cause he was racing for tonight, earlier today on Twitter, and a shame to see him out of the race as well. So we are 8 laps into this race.
Couple of takers here on pit road, the first of which is Chad Frankenfield. So he's going to drop down from the 5th position here. And yeah, he'll take some new tires on. So 9 laps into this race, going a little bit off strategy here. I like the call from Chad here. Just fill that car up. Give yourself a bit of a wider window to work with. So we'll see how this pans out. A lot of other drivers joining him there. You see the 10 car of Jared Rexing, the 14 of Eric Troiano, Victor Del Porto. Those guys taking just fuel. Looks like Chad might have taken tires as well.
Do we have a clear indication of the pit windows heading into tonight?
Actually, I'm not quite sure. It's kind of tough to call on these types of racetracks. I probably should have shot a text to a couple of drivers here before we got going. But
sorry to put you on the spot there, Rich.
No worries. Yeah. But no idea, so that's a little bit of a surprise for us. And up here in the booth, we'll kind of keep an eye out and see what guys are doing on fuel strategy, things like that. My guess, my gut reaction, maybe, I don't know. I want to say 50 or 60 laps. Maybe they can get on these cars. It's a smaller type of racetrack than obviously Indianapolis, 1.5 miles versus 2.5 at Indy. So, yeah, I want to say maybe 50 or 60, maybe even more than that, maybe a little bit less. That's kind of hard to gauge right now, and cautions are obviously going to change that as well.
And they like to say that everything's bigger in Texas except the Texas Motor Speedway, which is only a 1.5 mile track, compared to the 2.5 miles of hallowed ground at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I kid, of course, but Henry Bennett has been our leader so far throughout tonight, not really challenged right now. More cars coming into the pits.
Yeah, let's take a look, see who that is. That's Jared Rexing coming down again down pit road. So I'm kind of curious about what's going on with this 10 car. Not sure if he's just taking some more fuel and just continuously filling up, or if he might have scraped the wall a little bit there. I don't see any damage on that car, so possibly some strategy calls here from the 10 car of Jared Rexing.
We have to talk about the success Henry Bennett has had so far. 4 wins on the season, and really just the last 2 wins have already, or the last 2 races are among those 4 wins, but he has just literally dominated for the 2nd straight season.
Yeah, I mean it's been incredible, right? We're talking about his worst finish at Phoenix being a P8. That's the kind of season that Henry Bennett has had. It's been ridiculous. To have an average finishing position of 3.38. I mean, that's unheard of. That's we talk about Scott Dixon in real life IndyCar being, the guy who averages P5 pretty much over the course of a season, and that's crazy. Henry Bennett's averaging third place over the course of this season so far, and he's doing a fantastic job right now. Really just untouchable. We've seen sparks of speed from guys who've been maybe able to compete with Henry Bennett, but nobody's been able to put together the results like this one car.
And we have to really point out here that Henry lives in England, where it is, as we speak right now, about 1:45 in the morning. So he is doing this in the middle of the night when most of us should be asleep by now. We are back to green flag racing in just a second here. One pace lap under green, and we will come back at the start of lap number 12.
Yeah, no, it's incredible what Henry's able to do, and to be racing at this time in the morning, and when you talk about how long some of these races are, we run full distance events, so to start an event at 1 in the morning and be running all the way till 2, sometimes 3, or most of the time 3 or 4 even in the morning. It's pretty incredible what Henry Bennett's done here and how well he's been able to drive. So a lot of work for the rest of the field for sure, but they're all getting ready for 2021B. To try and take away that crown. But the confirmation, as we are ready to go back to green, from race control, Henry Bennett, when he took the start there, was crowned the 2021A Mega Driver 86 IndyCar champion.
So as in the rest of the season standings and tonight's race here at Texas, everyone else is running for second place.
Yeah, it very much seems so, but believe me, Henry Bennett still trying to make sure he can come across to victory lane here, wants to get that bonus of winning the Triple Crown. Tyler Fode, though, Caleb Bency, all of these guys seem to have, might want to have a word with Henry Bennett about that, and you see there side by side across the line with Tyler Fode. Fode's going to try and make this top line work again. I'm not quite sure you can do that in turn 1 and 2 here, but Tyler Fode hanging on there on the outside and still trying to keep that run going.
And you can't do it early enough because the upper lines haven't rubbered in yet. So maybe later in the race this might work, but not quite yet.
Yeah, you can see there just not enough grip on the top line for Tyler Fode, and he's losing time now to Caleb Bency. So even though Fode has kind of that draft almost available to him of being behind Henry Bennett, it's just not enough. You can't make that line work on the top side as Henry kind of hugs down up against the apron, making sure nobody can take away the bottom from that one car.
And Bency's actually hugging in behind Tyler Fode right now to pull the draft off of him. Let's watch as Fode comes down at the start line, heading down into turn 1, trying to make that move once again on the outside. It's not sticking. Henry Bennett will pull out ahead, heading down the back stretch. Going too wide, but it's still advantage to Henry Bennett heading into turn 3.
Yeah, this might be better opportunity here for Tyler Fode. You can see he gets close. He's kind of a little bit loose there on the top side of the racetrack. There's not quite enough grip there. So Tyler Fode just hanging on right now. Henry Bennett's having a much easier ride, and the question also has to be is how much is Tyler Fode wearing out his tires by running this higher line, by running more aggressively there up top, versus the likes of Henry Bennett just kind of hugging around on the bottom.
Good point. Caleb Bency has dropped back just slightly in third place. Brian Blauman and Aaron Drew Marquez are challenging him now.
Yeah, here we go. I think Tyler Fode's got the inside line here for the first time on Henry Bennett, so he does sell the fake to Henry Bennett, and Bennett now has to go to that high line that we've seen doesn't work, and Tyler Fode takes the lead away from Henry Bennett for the first time tonight. Just lap 17. We had somebody going around, I thought. We do. The 28 of Corey Long is around.
Okay.
Is that no caution on the racetrack?
No caution. It looks like he was able to stay out of the racing line. So we are still staying green, but if we can pull up the replay, let's see what happened here.
Yeah, it looks like the cars are finally slowing down, so there is a caution out on the racetrack. The speeds are way down on our tracker. But yeah, Corey Long in that 28, we saw him just get loose there off of turn 2. So let's head back to the iRace Online replay and take a look at what happened to this number 28 car.
This would be the third car to be involved in an incident tonight. Corey Long is in 22nd place right now. Fishtailing all around. And just a slight contact with the inner wall.
Yeah, he might be able to still keep running there. That's just rear end damage. He's going to have to wait to tow back to pit road. But Yeah, not what Corey Long wanted there, running that stop-and-go foundation car. Great to see that on the racetrack again here, but Henry Bennett almost decides to duck into pit road. I think we're not going to see too many of our leaders dive in. We are going to see, I think, Jared Rexing on back diving down pit road, as we've got a car with damage as well trying to slide in. I think that's Alec Balvan's, in the number 5 car.
Wonder what happened to Alec.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Yeah, that's not a well-handling race car here. We'll check out that iRace Online replay as well. See what we can find here. He might have gotten caught up in that Corey Long incident, but that car is crabbing all the way down this back straightaway under caution.
That thing is handling like my old 65 Volkswagen.
Yeah, not quite what you want when you're doing 220 miles an hour here at Texas Motor Speedway.
We want to thank our friends at iRace Online for sponsoring our replays all season long. There's Balvance in the blue and red car, taking that high line. Ooh. And just pranging the wall a little bit.
He goes all the way down.
Ooh, and into the pits. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he then brings it all the way down. So that probably happened right about the same time that Corey Long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right before Corey Long spins out. This is that's kind of a live comparison there between the two of those guys. So Corey Long and Alec Balvans both sitting now on pit road with some pretty significant damage. So another incident taking out another 2 cars tonight.
And that in the real world could have been a disaster.
Yeah, no, that could have been absolutely terrible. You know, you see a car driving towards the pit road, and that's something for me that personally scares me about a lot of these tracks that have these wide open, fields between the main track and pit road. It's so easy for a car to spew off and come down pit road like that. We've seen how bad accidents can be, so... Yeah, obviously very lucky that this is virtual, but no, things like that, at Texas Motor Speedway, a lot of these 1.5-mile racetracks kind of scare me.
Yeah, I mean, people like to talk about the danger at Indianapolis with just that basically 3-foot-high pit wall separating the pits from the main racetrack. But I'm sorry, at least that wall is there, and cars that do wreck on the main stretch generally don't get anywhere near the pits, but... This just shows you what can happen when all you have is grass between the track and the pit area.
Yeah, it's not great, and again, very fortunate. This is all virtual here. No, like you say, no pixels were hurt in those incidents, and
yep.
Yeah, thankfully everybody.
No virtual pit crew members were injured in this.
There we go. So we're thankfully able to walk away from that incident, just kind of look at that and feel bad for the driver because their day ends early, but that's about all we have to worry about here on iRacing.
Right now, Corey Long is being shown as 3 laps down. Alec Balvance is being shown as 2 laps down, but they could still come back into the race, though. As of right now, we have 20 cars on the lead lap still.
Yeah, Tom Holland is the last car on the lead lap right now. David Westergreen joining for his second start here, or his second attempted start here in the Indianapolis, or his first one being in the Indianapolis 500, planning to run a full season next year. So David Westergreen getting a bit of a testing program here together to get himself ready for that program. So looking forward to seeing how this 22 car gets along. He showed some pretty solid speed early on in Indianapolis. Unfortunately, ended up getting bumped when you talk about 50 cars going into 33 spots.
Yeah, he is in the pits right now for just a bit of a splash. Tyler Fode remains your leader as we come around on lap number 21. Bennett is in second, Caleb Benzie third, Andrew Marquez fourth, Brian Blauman fifth. You are watching the Safe Antifreeze and Coolants 500 tonight from virtual Texas Motor Speedway on the Elite Racing Channel. Thanks for watching us tonight. We have one more race to go in the 2021A season. It's coming up on June 11th from virtual Worldwide Technologies Raceway at Gateway. And the action will start at, once again, 7:30 Eastern Time here on the Elite Racing Channel. We're looking forward to calling that one for you. Once again, Henry Bennett has already been crowned the season champion just by starting tonight's race. But we have something like 10 different drivers who could easily pull out second or third, depending on how the race goes tonight. Pace car is off the track right now. We have one more lap under yellow, and Tyler Fode will bring them around, followed by Henry Bennett, who has been crowned the season champion. Caleb Benzie is in third, Marquez fourth, Brian Blauman in fifth.
Yeah, one more lap here before we get underway. I want to see if we can get some longer green flag runs, see how these cars fare, on these long runs and how tire wear, fuel consumption, all of that factors into it. It looks like we've got a racetrack that allows for overtaking right now, and we just need to kind of get that second groove to come in a little bit here. But there is enough downforce on these cars, there's enough grip on these cars to make moves around the outside or try and make moves on guys, get past if you have a faster car. So I'm really looking forward to that. We've got a long way to go tonight, 500 miles. It's a long race, but yeah, we're going to get there pretty soon, I think, if we stay green flag racing here. These laps can be very, very short. Tyler Fode's going to lead these guys back to the green flag.
As Fode comes around turn 4 and heads towards the start-finish line, we are back to green flag racing at Virtual, Texas. Tyler Fode nails it and pulls out to a 0.4 of a second lead over Henry Bennett, heading down into 1 and 2.
Yeah, here we go. The first battle on track is going to be Stephen Ellis versus Alexander Van de Sant. Van de Sant looking on that high line like we saw Tyler Fode do. A little bit further back, I think we also see Jari Brubaker trying to make a similar move here. So guys already looking as this battle a little bit further back is pretty close. Back up front, though, Henry Bennett is back to the tail of Tyler Fode's car. And we've got a four-way battle for this lead right now with Bennett, Caleb Benzie, and Andrew Marquez all in contention right now for this lead battle. And Brian Blauman right now kind of hanging back a little bit from these guys, seeing if he can find the pace to join this battle up front.
Attrition will be a factor tonight as the race goes on. Even some of our leaders were putting it into the wall during practice and qualifying tonight. So, and that includes Henry Bennett, who also did have a crash during qualifying. So anything can happen over the next 300 and some laps, because we are only on lap 25 out of 334 tonight, folks. It's a marathon, not a sprint here at Texas, and we're glad to bring it to you.
Yeah, so pleased to bring this action here. Love Texas Motor Speedway in terms of when the racing does get right, when you match the package and the racetrack perfectly, Texas Motor Speedway can be an absolutely fantastic race, and I'm hoping that this is kind of the start of what we're going to see over here, as you've got a battle going on right now for the fourth position. Andrew Marquez defending from Brian Blauman. Blauman has that lower line, though, so he might have the advantage through here. We'll see if Andrew Marquez, though, can hold on the outside line, try and get some grip up there on that top side, so we've got two wide racing all the way around this racetrack.
Blauman takes it over. Let's see if Marquez can come back coming down the backstretch. Marquez does take the lead coming into the backstretch, diving into turn 3. Coming down across Blauman's nose.
Henry Bennett, Caleb Benzie now fighting it out, and Benzie on that high side trying to get by Henry Bennett right now. They're not quite able to get that move complete. We've got them 2 by 2 behind Tyler Fode here. You got Bennett and Blauman on the bottom with Benzie and Marquez on the top side, trying to make these moves work here early on in this top 5 battle.
Benzie just about 0.3 of a second behind Fode, but he's got all kinds of pressure on his rear wing.
Here we go, the move again by Brian Blauman on Andrew Marquez. You see the wide line that Marquez is taking, and what that does is that gives him a great run onto this back straightaway. You can see the speed differential between Marquez and Blauman right now, and that right now is what's keeping Andrew Marquez in front. Really smart driving by this number 87 car here. He knows that Blauman's getting that inside line, which in theory should be faster, but by going way up high, you see there, using pretty much the third lane up there, he's able to get by, as I think Blauman even gets a little bit loose there on the bottom. He's going to fall under pressure now by Alexander Kariba and Alexander Van de Sant.
That's the kind of stuff that would not fly in the real world today with all of that PJ1 on the track.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, this is great racing, and you can be smart when you've got these different types of racetracks. I love this line by Andrew Marquez that he's running right now. It's so high up on the racetrack, but it's getting him by cars. Look at that. It gets him by Henry Bennett on the outside lane. Right now, Andrew Marquez, I think this 87 car might be the fastest car on the racetrack.
When was the last time we talked about Henry Bennett being in 4th place?
Exactly. This would be his second worst finish of the season, I think, if it came out to it. So that's the kind of season Henry Bennett's had. We're a long way from over, though, and certainly do not count this number 1 car out. Don't forget, in the Indy 500, for a number of laps there, he was hanging around in the 15th or so position up until those that final set of pit stops where Henry Bennett cycled back to the lead and passed just about everybody he needed to, as a lot of guys made mistakes around him. He kept that car on the racetrack and won. So long way to go in this race. Henry Bennett certainly still a contender, always a contender.
We are completing lap 33 as they cross the start-finish line. Tyler Fode is your leader. We are actually 10% of the way through the race so far. Caleb Benzie just 0.3 of a second back. Andrew Marquez following right behind. Henry Bennett, Brian Blauman round out your top 5.
Here we go. You see Henry Bennett trying that higher line as well with Andrew Marquez. We'll see how that works. But Blauman coming back on the bottom lane. He's found some pace again here. Looking to try and get past Bennett. Not sure if he's going to quite get there. He does. But not going to get past Andrew Marquez. So really interesting. This is the kind of racing you want to see on an oval, right? You've got these different types of lines, and you have advantages at different parts of the racetrack. These guys on the lower lane have the advantage heading into the corner. You see there, Henry Bennett dives it in. You can take away that line from the guy in front of you and take away that turn in. But if you commit to that top lane early on enough, you've got so much speed down the front and back straightaway that you can overcome just about anything the guys can do in the corner. This is really intriguing, and I love this kind of racing on ovals.
We still have 20 cars on the lead lap, 4 cars out of the race right now. Val Vance, Corey Long, Joe McAdory, and Gil Ribeiro all are out of the race after accidents earlier.
Ooh, we got a car on the wall there. I think that was Tom. Oh, no. Who was that? That was Eric Troiano.
Yes.
No.
We've got another one.
Hunter Smith hits the wall. Eric Troiano actually just, I called Eric Troiano, and he went straight into Hunter Smith, who hit that outside wall in turn 2. So there you go. 2 cars again involved in another incident, bringing out another caution flag here tonight. Let's go back to the iRace Online replay, see what happened. But I think we're going to see the same thing that happened with Joe Ribeiro. Car gets tight, coming out of turn 2, hits that outside wall, and you're a passenger from then on.
All right, let's watch and see what happens here.
This is Hunter Smith that we're watching. You see him running that higher line, just hits that outside wall hard into the inside wall. Does a good job keeping it on the bottom, but Troiano kind of out of the blue there kind of ducks it. If he had stayed in on his regular racing line, Troiano would have kind of avoided that. I'd love to see the onboard, though, from Eric Troiano and see what...
Let's check that, because I think there was somebody up in Troiano's line that caused him to duck down inside.
Yeah, must have been, because that's such a strange move by Eric Troiano to kind of dive down to the bottom of the racetrack where the crashed car is. So let's take a look here on board with this 14 car.
And Hunter Smith is in that one. Is in the car up ahead.
Yeah, that's really confusing for me, because it's, for me originally when I saw it, I thought, oh, okay, maybe there was smoke and Troiano was just kind of driving blind into that corner and decided to pick the bottom and just picked poorly. But I felt like watching on board with that 14 car, it was pretty clear where the damaged race car was on the racetrack. So kind of confusing there from Eric Troiano, but I mean, there you go. 2 more cars out of this race here in the next caution flag. And we do finally have, I think, some of our leaders coming down pit road. You see here Henry Bennett, Andrew Marquez, I think, all hit pit road this time by. Caleb Benzie leads the cars off of pit road, while Nick DeGroot, Jared Rexing, Mark Rabilas, and Michael Goodman all stayed out. Those guys will take over the top 4 positions.
And we'll give them some love for a few laps until Bennett Blauman can get back up to the lead, along with Tyler Fode.
Absolutely. Yeah, Nick DeGroot has shown a lot of really solid pace here this season. Hasn't quite put together the results he might have been hoping for, but Nick DeGroot always kind of a threat here in the Mega Driver 86 IndyCar Series. Let's take a look. Currently runs 11th position in the points, so he's still in that battle for second. We've talked about that 41 points separating, second place to 11th. Nick DeGroot is that 11th place driver, so he's not out of it. Hasn't had a terrible season by any means, but we've seen this 89 car perform extremely well in this series, go to victory lane a number of times, so expecting to see that from Nick DeGroot as well. Right now, getting himself back up in front on strategy. We'll see if he can stay there for the rest of the night.
He will have to be careful because he's coming very close to passing the pace car under yellow, which of course is a no-no, but
yeah, we'll see. I don't know how if iRacing even completely penalizes you for that, unless if you are certainly willing to give it back. So we'll take a look. But yeah, right now Nick DeGroot shouldn't be too concerned. Obviously has that lead position. Jared Rexing, Mark Robilas, the two cars behind him who also have not pitted. Then you get to Caleb Bensey, who beat Tyler Fode off of pit road. Andrew Marquez, Henry Bennett, Brian Blauman. That was kind of that battle for the lead that we were watching before. So keep an eye on that mid-pack as well once we get back to Green Flag Racing. That's where things are going to get very, very interesting because they're also racing now with the likes of Alexander Van de Sant, Alexander Kariba, who showed a lot of pace in practice, Jari Brupiker, Chad Frankenfield, Stephen Ellis, who I think currently, I'm not sure if he still does, but last I checked, holds the fastest lap of the race. So a lot of pace in this midfield. Things get very interesting and pretty spicy as the battling gets going.
You are watching the Safe Antifreeze and Coolant 500. Check out Safe Content Coolant Cleaning Flush Tablets, 20 coolant cleaning tablets per pouch. Each resealable pouch can contain enough treatment to handle 12 liters or 3.2 U.S. gallons for your radiator system. You can clean your radiator while you drive. It's non-hazardous, non-toxic, biodegradable, and pH balanced. It safely removes all of the corrosion, scale, and crud out of your coolant system, including your radiator and heater cores. It'll help keep your car cool as we head into those hot summer months. Get the details at safeantifreeze.com. Lights are out on the pace car. We will go green here in just about a lap or so as we come around on lap 40 here at Virtual Texas tonight.
Yeah, if we're able to just get some green flag laps in, these go by super quickly here. Right now, just been getting maybe about 15 to 20 lap runs in so far between cautions. And each caution has taken out 2 drivers at a time here. So I will say Hunter Smith is back out on the racetrack. So that 62 car is running. So right now, only Eric Triano, I think, really taken out of this race. He is still shown as on pit road, but 5 minutes right now sitting on pit road. It might soon be day over for that 14 car.
They're racing 2x2, crashing 2x2 here at Texas tonight. I kid, of course.
Well, we've seen this in the series before, right? I mean, we go back to the early parts of the season where we had these huge races of attrition. I mean, you go back to Long Beach where we had, 4 or 5 cars maybe come across the finish line.
I think it was 3.
It might have been even less than that. 3 cars, I think, on the lead lap. You're correct, yeah. So, I mean, we've seen that. These races of attrition can happen, and these cars are so unforgivable. You can just knock a little bit of a toe link in off a corner, and your day could be over. So that's the kind of, that's how unforgivable these race cars can be. And we've seen that happen. We saw that happen at Michigan as well. There was a lot of cars go out in that 500-mile race. So we'll take a look. Hopefully we have something more along the lines of the Indy 500 where we didn't have a ton of guys completely taken out, but still had a solid number of finishers. But right now running with 19 cars still with their engines running on the racetrack.
Nick DeGroot leads them down the backstretch. He'll bring the field to the line to restart racing. Caleb Bensey is in third behind Jared Rexing. Bensey is in the red and black car. Rexing is in the second yellow car, and Tyler Fode is in that sort of a burnt orange car number 40 in fourth place, followed by Andrew Marquez, Henry Bennett, Brian Blauman, Alexander Van der Sant, Alexander Kariba, and Jari Brupiker round out your top 10 as we are back to racing at Virtual Texas.
There we go. Nick DeGroot gets on the gas pedal nice and early. The real battle right now is going to be going on here with Jared Rexing, Caleb Bensey right behind him, Tyler Fode. So this is where these old leaders are kind of looking to try and see if they can get their way back into this race. Obviously, just a couple of cars to pass here, but a bit of a difference there on pit strategy. We'll take a look at what that pace differential looks like as well. But Nick DeGroot now getting caught by Jared Rexing and going side by side. That's going to allow for Bensey, Fode, Marquez, all of those guys to catch right back up to these guys. So side by side, Jared Rexing trying to make the move here on Nick DeGroot, and he is to the outside of that 89 car. Jared Rexing might be taking over the lead here in 3 and 4.
Let's watch their side by side heading into turn 4. DeGroot on the inside, Rexing on the outside, coming back down the main stretch, and it's still Nick DeGroot by a nose as they head back down into turn 1. Rexing is starting to pull back just a little bit and tucking in behind Nick DeGroot going down the back stretch.
Here we go, Rexing once again looking to that outside in 3 and 4. I'm not quite sure you can get the move done in 3 and 4 right now, at least on that outside lane. Tyler Fode trying to prove me wrong as well, same as Jared Rexing. These guys running side by side in these first 2 rows here. You can see them right there. So really, really good racing right now going on at this racetrack. They kind of single file out, though, fairly quickly. Back in the order, we got Alexander Kariba fighting with Chad Frankenfield there, right behind him. Chad with that inside line heading into turn 1. We'll see what Kariba does if he goes for that much higher line. Goes for kind of a middle ground there. We'll see if that run works for him off of turn 2. Right, if he's able to stay in front of that 15 car right now, this is the battle for 9th position.
Kariba holds the position heading into turn 3 in the red and white car, followed by that yellow and black car of Chad Frankenfield.
Back up front, look at this. This is the battle we've got going on for this lead right now. It is still Nick DeGroot and Jared Rexing up front, but Caleb Bensey, Tyler Fode, Henry Bennett, all of these guys together. Bennett looks all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to see if he can get the move done on Tyler Fode. Backs out of it as Fode comes back down the racetrack here. They are still side by side, though, for the lead of this race. And across the line, ooh, I think that was just Nick DeGroot ahead of Jared Rexing, but even timing and scoring can't quite tell you who was ahead there. And there you see now Nick DeGroot remains in front of that 10 car. But great battling here. We've got them 2 by 2 by 2 as a car in the wall a little bit further back. I think that was Alexander Kariba.
Let's watch and see if it causes a yellow right now. Nick DeGroot is still your leader by 5/10 of a second, 5/100ths of a second rather, over Jared Rexing.
Yeah, you can see significantly less speed right now in this 13 car, and we saw that same thing happen with Alexander Kariba that we saw with a couple of other drivers, where you just tapped that outside wall for him. Fortunately, it was not that hard of a hit. I think he was able to prevent it from spinning out, but going to have to come down pit road here. So Alexander Kariba, who's showing a ton of pace early on right now, early setback for that number 15, or excuse me, for that, where is that? Alexander Kariba is the number. I'm losing his number.
He's dropped
here.
to 17th as of now.
There we go.
18th in the pits.
The number 2 car.
Nick DeGroot still leading going into turn 1. Jared Rexing trying to take a higher line while Tyler Fode tries to sneak underneath as he follows right behind Nick DeGroot.
Yeah, Fode's gotten by Caleb Bensey, sort of, but Bensey's now coming back, and we got them 3 wide between these the original race leaders there. They kind of sort out a little bit there as Bensey gets behind Tyler Fode, but great job by Nick DeGroot and Jared Rexing. I think just those 2 fighting it out side by side kind of takes away any lanes from anybody else.
Right. It has been fun to watch what is probably one of the closest races we've had so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, this is just fantastic. Oh, Tyler Fode!
Oh,
No!
Fode!
Hard hit there on the inside wall for Tyler Fode, and we've talked about this. He's had such great speed this year, but the consistency hasn't quite been there on this 40 car. We'll head back to the iRace Online replay, and Tyler Fode's hopes go up in smoke there. Out so early on here, lap 53 of 334 for this 40 car. Just side by side with Henry Bennett, gets loose there on the bottom and can't save it there. Doesn't even hit that outside wall, just loose off the corner. And yeah, once you lose control.
Not sure what caused him to lose control there, because there was no contact with another car.
So my guess, and I want to go back and take a look at the onboard here with Tyler Fode.
Yeah.
What we're likely going to see here is the car just simply gets loose. You're tightening up the radius of this corner here, maybe even a little bit of aero wash coming onto the front of this car, but you're tight off the corner. He has to kind of check up away from that outside lane. He can't open up the steering wheel as quickly as he'd like to, and the car just kind of spins around from there.
Wonder if it was a problem with his onboard tools, the weight jackers and anti-roll bars that you would hit coming out of the turn.
Yeah, very, very much could have been. Tyler Fode could have been in a bit more of aggressive mode there, then gets caught up behind another car, and once you get that different aero effect on your car, I mean, that completely changes the handling of your race car, and for Tyler Fode, that could have easily turned him around so quickly like that.
Jared Rexing remains your leader. This is, I believe, our 4th caution of the night.
Yes, sir. I believe you're correct there. So it's been pretty crazy tonight in terms of Guys just getting involved in some incidents here and there. Yeah, man, oh man, it's been pretty crazy. A lot of really talented guys out of the race early on, but still a long way to go. I mean, we're not even a third of the way through with this race. We haven't hit lap 100 quite yet. So yeah, long way to go in this event, guys. Really, the big thing is just going to be a race of attrition. It's going to be surviving over the course of 334 laps.
Tom Holland is still being shown as your leader, but he is in the pits right now, so he will likely fall out of the lead when the field comes back around. That would leave Jared Rexing in the lead with Henry Bennett in second place and Caleb Bency in third.
Yeah, Brian Blauman, Brandon Madonia back in this battle here in fifth position, kind of quietly moved back up as I think we had a couple of cars come down pit road there. But yeah, really interesting to see him back up in the order. So like I said, the talent is so deep in this field, and there's a lot of guys who can win on any given day. There's a lot of pace in this field. It's just being there at the end. That's so crucial to success in the series, because we run these longer races. You really can't just spend the entire time, thinking, oh man, I'm going to go for the lead. I want to lead every lap, and I'm going to fight hard, tooth and nail, for the lead every single lap. We're on lap 55, and we saw guys fighting like it was lap 330.
Yeah.
We've seen this time and time again this season, though. This is nothing new from up here in the booth. But yeah, I mean, that's what's going to take you out of a race like this is, you might even look at guys like Chad Frankenfield, Alexander Van de Sant, Jari Brubaker, who've been hanging out a little bit further back in this race, and they're guys we know who have a lot of pace. They might just be thinking, look, it's a long way to go. I'm just going to chill, not going to get involved in that craziness that's going on for the lead right now. And that race will slowly come to them, especially as a lot of these guys might take themselves out further up the field.
That is a gamble, though, and it doesn't always pay off.
No, it absolutely doesn't. There's a couple of ways that can go wrong for a driver. One, of course, is, that yellow flag that brings the field back together never comes, and you're stuck, 5 seconds behind the leaders, and you just can't close that gap. The other thing, of course, is what if that incident happens right there in the midfield? The midfield can get extremely crazy in terms of the battles that go on there. So yeah, I mean, it's
one to go.
Yeah, going to
no lights are back on.
Oh, we might have had might have had an issue under pace car here then. That would typically bring that back out. I'm not seeing anything, but lights might go out again here. So now back to 2 to go.
Let's just watch and listen for a second. If we can, let's get on board with Jared Rexing and watch him take the green here.
Sure thing. Let's take a look here. He is behind the pace car in this number 10 Nesquik Jared Rexing car. He's had a pretty solid season. I think he's shown some really good glimpses of pace, like we've seen from a lot of guys who've come over from the NASCAR side. The biggest thing that he's got to work on is that consistency, getting the results at the end of the day. I kind of want to scroll through and see what I can find. Jared Rexing right now sits P13 in the standings. Best finish of a 4th position at Milwaukee. Next best finish of 6th at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy 500. So he's had some really good finishes. He's had some also finishes where they didn't quite go his way. I'm kind of looking at the results he's had. Top 10 finishes whenever he's put that car, back to whenever he's finished the race, but also had 4 different DNFs this season. So it's been on and off for Jared Rexing for sure.
Yeah. Tough breaks for Jared as the pace car pulls away. Let's follow Jared around one more lap.
Ooh.
Is Jared pulling into the pits now?
He is. So that's an interesting strategy call here for Jared Rexing. He's going to bring that car down pit road, fill it up with gas one more time. So that means Henry Bennett is going to be our leader heading back to the green flag.
That is an interesting move.
Yeah.
Not sure I understand it, but I'm not sure why he would make that move.
Yeah, I mean, so one of those could be, just getting those laps led. But of course, you only really need one for the bonus point. But maybe just leaving it all the way to the last minute, getting the absolute maximum amount of gas that he can put in that car. Again, just creating yourself a different strategy, going off strategy as much as you possibly can. That might be Jared Rexing's thought process here. So Henry Bennett now the control car over the rest of the grid. And here we go. This is what it'll look like behind him as he takes the green flag. I think this should be a pretty fun camera angle to see as the rest of the field spreads out behind Henry Bennett.
Oh, yeah, this will be a fun one to watch. Let's keep an eye on them as they head down the main stretch now. We should be able to see the flag waving in the stand just a second here.
Here he goes.
We are back to green flag racing as you see the virtual green flag waving down into turn 1.
You see the field. It kind of, we talk about the advantage that you get from the pole sitter, but already that advantage going away pretty quickly. Caleb Bensey looking to try and see if he can get by this number 1 car. Caleb Bensey has been one of the strongest cars on the racetrack here tonight, looking to challenge Henry Bennett here early on in this, or after this restart.
Bennett with a lead of just about 0.2 of a second right now over Bensey as they head down the backstretch. Brian Blauman is in third, his best position of the night so far. Nick DeGroot fourth, or Brendan Madonia fourth. Nick DeGroot is in 5th place.
Here, let's take a look and see how this racing goes down. You're going to see Caleb Bensey try and work that outside lane again. Not quite high enough, I think, to really make a move work here. But here we've got a battle going on for the 3rd position as Brendan Madonia looking around the outside of Brian Blauman. Not quite able to get there this time.
And Nick DeGroot has dropped back into 5th place. A little over a second behind the top 4 cars.
We're seeing the same thing kind of starting to spark here that we did before. Is it's easy to get alongside, hard to overtake right now at this circuit.
Yeah.
Seems to be really what it is, what's going on, and that means we've got these really tight packs up here fighting for the lead, which has resulted in crashes. We saw there with Tyler Bodie. So guys have got to be careful here. Kind of need to think big picture, really. It's lap 62 through 34, so just 20% now into this race.
Bennett still your leader, heading down the backstretch, being chased by Caleb Bensey, Brendan Madonia.
Madonia now looking really strong on that high line, trying to maybe look 3 wide at one point. He's looking to the outside of Caleb Bensey. That door, though, closes very quickly, and Brian Blauman now with a huge run coming back to the inside of these guys. You see there as Madonia goes way up the racetrack. That's going to hurt him in the short run, but he's going to have a great run off the corner, and he's probably going to go right on past this number 29.
Chad Frankenfield has moved up to 5th place now, challenging the leaders for the first time tonight.
Yeah, here we go. So
he's up to 4th.
This is what I was saying. I mean, Chad Frankenfield, we know that 15 car always has speed in it. He's kind of hanging out back a little bit earlier on, maybe deciding now is the time to go and try and get maybe a couple of extra bonus points for leading some laps. We know Chad has very much a never say die attitude in terms of he wants to lead every single lap no matter what. And certainly looking to try and do that right now. Ooh, Madonia almost comes across in front of Nick DeGroot. That could have been very bad very quickly.
And it could also be that there's a little bit of whoa, what happened up there?
Chad Frankenfield and Brendan Madonia might have come together, I think, in turn 1 and 2. Both of them keep it rolling in the same direction, but they came very close to each other through turns 1 and 2. Madonia definitely came off worse there, dropped down to P5 right now. Slower pace than everybody else as he's kind of recovering right now.
Let's keep our eyes on that combination because they're liable to get together again.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just the way this track tracks, this is interesting here. You see there Brendan Madonia comes in low, kind of exits high. Brian Blauman does the complete opposite, and you see how that works off the corner and how that changes the way these guys are running around this racetrack. You've got to be so careful. You can get together very quickly, and the cars, generally will follow a single trajectory once you throw them into the corner, so it's hard to turn away when somebody tries to make a move on you late in the corner.
And we are still seeing 2 and 3 lanes open here at Texas at times. The drivers aren't having a problem running up high. It's that sometimes that higher line is the faster one to take, but it doesn't appear to be the case tonight.
Yeah, not quite the fastest line to take around the racetrack. It gives you a good shot at getting by somebody. And I mean, let's talk about Chad Frankenfield all the way up to 2nd right now and chasing down Caleb Bensey. So this 15 car has found something on this restart right now. Chad Frankenfield, a lot of pace chasing down this 21. But was kind of utilizing that top lane for a little bit as he got closer to Caleb Bensey. Right now back to the bottom. I want to see what he does here in turns 1 and 2, because I think if you utilize that all the way up on the top, I think a little bit higher than what Chad's running right now, you can carry some incredible speed off of turn 2 if you can get the car turned in time. And yeah, you can certainly put together a fantastic attack into turn 3 and 4.
Let's watch Bensy as he stays low all the way throughout turn 1 and 2, then comes out to the higher spot. I'm sorry, on turn 3 and 4. But let's watch, because he's taking this very low line down consistently through the turns, while some of the other guys are coming in higher, then coming down low in the apex, and then getting back out to the outside.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see how this kind of progresses, and hopefully we're getting that rubber going on the racetrack on all different parts, as we've got guys running side by side all around, and it's giving us more opportunities. And I think it's going to get racier and racier as this, as this event goes on here. Running lap 71 now of 3:34. Guys are going to have more and more opportunities coming to them, as long as they're able to just keep these cars on the racetrack. That's the biggest thing.
The hard part here is that we're only on lap 71, and you can already start to see fatigue set in among some of the drivers, because you're racing at full speed flat out. The right leg is all the way down on the gas pedal, and though they're not dealing with the G-forces that the real-world drivers do, they still feel this all the more, don't they?
Yeah, you're definitely worried. I mean, the Indy cars generally have much heavier steering, and you can play around with your forced feedback settings. That's what we call the actual, as the name implies, the actual feedback that you're getting from your sim racing wheel. So, you can kind of lower that weight and make it a little bit easier to drive. You can make that adjustment, but the mental fatigue for me is what really gets these drivers. Is you're running over 300 laps, at 220 miles an hour, even if it is virtual speed, everything's coming at you so quickly in these cars. You have to be ready to make these split-second decisions. You're doing that every single lap, changing gear, adjusting your weight jacker, adjusting your line to defend, or adjusting your line to attack, or just kind of sitting and riding. So there's so many things that you have to think about as a driver. That's what I think starts to get these guys, and as we continue to go through this race, you see guys making mistakes because there's just those lapses in judgment. That mind just starts to roam a little bit, and that's when you really start seeing these big mistakes taking place.
NC is still your leader, followed by Chad Frankenfield, Nick DeGroot, and Henry Bennett. Your top four as we come around to complete lap 75.
You can see just how aggressive Chad Frankenfield is, trying to work that higher line, getting into the corner higher than Caleb Bensy, and trying to kind of bring the car off the corner lower, giving him a good exit there. But Bensy doing a great job right now, just hugging that bottom lane, kind of like what we saw Henry Bennett doing earlier on in this race, not giving up that preferred lane right now to Chad Frankenfield. That's allowing Caleb Bensy to stay in the lead right now. Nick DeGroot back up to P4, fighting it out with Brendan Madonia. Madonia hanging out on the top side of 3 and 4. Honestly, I think 3 and 4 right now, that's probably the corner that you really are seeing guys run single file. 1 and 2 seems to be the place right now where you can make these 2-3 wide moves. Kind of the opposite of what I was maybe expecting to see here. I do know it's tighter in turns 3 and 4, but generally with that reconfigured 1 and 2, we haven't seen the same kind of opportunities come, with this modern version of Texas Motor Speedway.
No, we have not. The lead for Chad Frankenfield is down to about 0.2 of a second behind Caleb Bensy right now.
Yeah, he's settled back in line right now, and Caleb Bensy right now happy to kind of not be bothered by Chad Frankenfield. I'm sure Frankenfield may be thinking, all right, I can't get by this 21 car. Might as well maybe save some fuel, turn down the engine a little bit, and just ride a little bit behind this 21 car. You can see just how strong that toe is. Never mind, Chad Frankenfield going for the move in turn 1 and 2, and takes away that inside lane this time from Caleb Bensy.
It is never safe to assume that Chad Frankenfield is going to sit back.
Fair enough here, and they're still side by side. This will be a great view. Ooh, as they get very close to each other. Not sure, if they touched, man, that was great driving by both of them not to have those cars skewing into the wall, and Chad Frankenfield takes over the lead for the first time tonight.
Frankenfield starting to pull away just a little bit now, about 12/100ths of a second, down to under 1/10 of a second now in the lead.
Yeah, the big thing really seems to be, to me, is who has the inside lane in 3 and 4. Yes, you can run that outside lane and get the run in turns 1 and 2, But the problem is can you then use that run to steal that inside lane from somebody else in 3 and 4? So here we're seeing now Bensey with that inside line again on Chad Frankenfield, and I think we're going to see this 21 car take over the lead and clear this 15 before we get to the exit of the corner, and that's exactly what we see here.
And let's watch and see when Henry Bennett makes his move along with Brian Blauman. They're running pretty much side by side, chasing Bensey and Frankenfield down.
Chad Frankenfield now losing a little bit of ground there to Caleb Bensey. And yeah, Henry Bennett, Brian Blauman, Nick DeGroot all ready to pounce on this 15 car. We're seeing that as this race goes on. Safe Antifreeze in the comment section here. Thank you guys, obviously, so much for sponsoring this particular event, the Safe Antifreeze and Coolants 500. And the question is that Mark Rabilas, the photographer? I believe it is, driving the Bitcoin number 09 car. A little bit further back here in the field. Mark Rabilas actually has been running the Bitcoin car longer than Renus VK has, so you could say Renus maybe got the idea here from Mark.
Oh, yeah, sure he did.
I think Mark might see it that way.
He can claim it, but...
But yeah, Mark Rabilas right now running in the 15th position, a little bit further back from the rest of the field. Actually close to going down a lap here, so might have just lost the draft there early on in this run. Mark Rabilas hoping maybe we get another caution coming out here pretty soon to give him a chance to join the rest of the field here. Caleb Bensey with probably the biggest lead we've seen so far tonight, and it's stayed this way half a second now over Chad Frankenfield, who's really fallen into the clutches of Henry Bennett, Brian Blauman, and it really is this three-way fight now for the second position as Blauman some ways ahead of Nick DeGroot there in that 89 car for the fourth position. So here we go, three-way fight for second. Chad Frankenfield, Henry Bennett, and Brian Blauman.
Since our friends at Safe Antifreeze are watching the race, I have a question. If you put tablets in there to try to get the gunk out of the system, how do you then get the gunk out of the system, or is it just dissolve the gunk and turn it back into something you can use to cool your engine with?
Well, we'll see what response
Let's
we get
see what
here
they say about
yeah.
that. I'm sure it's a system that works. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, if you're just flushing this stuff around, how does it work?
Looking forward to hearing.
Short of doing a real radiator flush.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the response there, and yeah, we'll see here what they're saying over at Safe Antifreeze in response to that. Once again,
yeah, of course, but I'm just curious about this because I see the logic in it if you could do it. Because God knows I've had enough screwed up radiators in the cars I've driven over the years. This stuff would have been a godsend for me. I just want to know how it works.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, let's see what they say here. I'll let you know when I see a response coming in from Safe Antifreeze on that.
And if it's a response we can actually say on a broadcast too, they may say, "What the hell are you talking about, you idiot?" Bensey's lead up now to a full half a second over Frankenfield, and Bennett is all over Chad's rear wing right now, coming down the main stretch as they complete lap 89.
Yeah, we're starting to see, I think, this long run and guys starting to separate a little bit more from where they were before in this race, where we had guys 2 by 2 by 2 all the way through the field. Now there's very much that separation that you'd expect to see. The tires are wearing down. Guys who've driven harder than others are starting to feel that a little bit more. And I think Chad Frankenfield might be one of those guys. We saw how aggressive he was moving forward early on in this run, and that might be coming back to bite him right now as, like we saw Henry Bennett really trying to go for it with a super wide line off the corner. Let's see if that gives him enough of a run. Not quite enough here this time by, but yeah, Henry Bennett seemingly quite a bit faster than Chad Frankenfield, just trying to find a way past this 15 car.
Well, that's been the case all season long. Bennett's been faster than everybody. It's just a case of maintaining that lead right now. We should be getting close to pit stops, I would fairly assume, at some point here.
Yeah, we're let's take a look. We're about 50 or so laps into this run. We got a couple of caution laps.
Frankenfield's in at 38 laps. We have some guys that came in at the caution with 38 laps now, like Frankenfield and Van de Sant and Nick DeGroot, and then you have a bunch of guys that are at 54 and 55 laps in.
Yeah, so those two different strategies right now playing out. And for Chad Frankenfield, That's really good for him, especially if the rest of these guys are coming down pit road. That puts them in a danger zone for about 20 laps if we stay green here that Chad Frankenfield won't be in. And that right there is the advantage of having, coming in like we saw Jared Rexon do, getting that extra splash of fuel, because that can make this big of a difference. I have a response from Safe.
Yeah, I saw
Antifreeze.
that.
Yep. So Safe Coolant Cleaning Flush Tablets is the real radiator flush. You simply put the dissolving tablets in, drive the vehicle, drain the coolant, so you do have to flush it, and then refill new fresh antifreeze. So it seems like it reduces the fouling factor within the radiator, would be my assumption.
So it dissolves all that crud in the radiator and then flushes it out when you actually drain the radiator, which makes sense.
Yeah, so that's an awesome product.
Because I was trying to figure out how you do that without having to drain the radiator.
So there you go. Great response there. Thanks again to Safe Antifreeze. Hanging out
Hey,
in the comment
proof that
section.
people are watching tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, tell us where you're watching from and what you're doing while you're watching. And if you have a pick for the poll for the real Indy 500 this weekend and qualifying, give us that pick too. We'll try to share some of those later on. See, that's Caleb Bency hitting the pits now.
Yep, so just coming off of pit road here. So Caleb Benson, the first car down pit road. So it seems like that's about the right number there. About 60 laps or so is going to get these guys through on a stint. So we go back up to Henry Bennett, who's now the next leader of these guys who are going to be coming down pit road relatively soon. Chad Frankenfield, meanwhile, very much in a safe zone in terms of fuel strategy right now. And Henry Bennett now dives off to the bottom again. These guys hoping and praying that we stay green now for the next 20-25 laps before the next set of guys come down.
Frankenfield has one victory in the Elite Racing season so far.
Yeah, that clutch victory at Phoenix, taking it away from the grips of Tyler Fody, who was so dominant early on in that event and throughout that event. Chad Frankenfield then coming in with such a great restart there towards the end of that race, and pulling off that victory at Phoenix right before we got into the month of May, trying to set himself up to the best of his ability. Didn't quite get the job done in the month of May, but right now getting the job done here at Texas Motor Speedway.
We ought to see if Tyler can jump in and join us. I wonder if he is still logged in.
Let me shoot a test message out to Tyler Fody and see if we can get him in here for a little bit.
Chad's lead is up to 1.2 seconds over Alexander Van der Sant. Nick DeGroot is third, Victor Del Porto fourth. Andrew Marquez is running in fifth place right now as we come down to complete lap number 100 at Virtual Texas tonight. In the Safe Antifreeze and Coolants 500 with the Mega Player 86 IndyCar Series on the Elite Racing channel. I'm Mark Gillespie along with Rish Kozla bringing you the action tonight from Virtual Texas, and we have a yellow flag.
Ooh.
Let's see if we can see what happened to back in the pack.
Yep, so here we go. I think that might have been
Mark Rebelis, I think.
Yeah, Mark Rebelis. I see Tom Holland as well, slow here on the racetrack. So let's take a look there. Might have been another two cars involved in that incident. And what that does, though, is it traps the guys like Caleb Bency, Brian Blauman, Henry Bennett, Brandon Madonia, all now trapped a lap down from the leader, Chad Frankenfield. That's massive. These guys were praying, hoping and praying that we wouldn't get this caution flag out here. That came out, though. Let's take a look here. Yeah, trying to see where this caution flag is.
We have folks watching tonight from Phoenix, Arizona, Stowe, Ohio, near the Akron area, the home of our friends at Firestone Tires, who make the virtual rubber for the NTT IndyCar Series in the real world, and the virtual rubber for our Elite Racing League as well.
So kind of doing a little bit of digging here. Kind of hard to tell if I'm totally honest in terms of what brought out this caution. The biggest thing that kind of comes to mind for me is going to be this thing with Tom Holland. So I'll roll back the replay here and kind of show you exactly what happened here. It just looked like Tom Holland is coming down pit road, but it might be the speed that he's coming down pit road at, just how slow he is on the apron here, that might have brought out this caution flag.
Did he get too slow on the?
So what's interesting here is we're going to see, and this might be when the caution flag comes out.
Oh,
he comes out back onto the racetrack, and that difference in
the
pace
cone.
might have been enough to bring out that caution flag. I can't see any cars slow on the racetrack other than him. So, yeah, very surprising there for me. And yeah, nobody else really slow on the track. So that's my guess.
And that's going to mess everybody up for basically an innocent mistake, just coming too fast and then trying to not pitting quickly enough.
Seems like that's the case. So, yeah, what that does is right now it traps Henry Bennett and Brendan Madonia a lap down. Caleb Benzie and Brian Blauman might have actually snuck around, and they have. I believe they're both ahead of current race leader, or the driver that's being shown as race leader, Tom Holland. So the guy who brought out the caution right now shown as our race leader. And what that means,
race control's got to send him to the back.
Probably there, yes. But the real question then is going to be if we've got Michael Goodman here. And there we go. So Holland and Goodman both come down pit road. And that means that Henry Bennett is going to get the wave around as well now. Brendan Madonia Brendan Madonia 2 laps down, actually, so he's only going to get one of those laps back. But Caleb Benzie, Brian Blauman, and Henry Bennett should all get back to the lead lap. So they're kind of saved a little bit there by staying out here on this caution flag. So really interesting kind of caution period there, happening during green flag pit stops.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man.
And it looks like they have reinstated Chad Frankenfield to the lead again.
Yeah, looks like it will be. Chad Frankenfield is going to be your current leader, and he will line up right now behind all those guys who kind of got trapped a lap down. So they're going to get their wave around. Chad Frankenfield will then cycle back behind the pace car as he is our current race leader. So, yeah, Chad Frankenfield, kind of the winner out of all of this. Again, you kind of take a lot of his main rivals and throw them at the back of the pack effectively. So they're going to all have a lot of work to do to catch back up to this 15 car. Update on getting Tyler Fode up here in the booth. He said, "I'm good." I think that's been the season for Tyler Fode.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, it's not so good for us, but okay, Tyler, we'll let you off the hook.
We got to give. Yeah, I mean, Tyler Fode's done a really good job just pace-wise and getting up to speed with these Indy cars. I think for him, certainly disappointed not to have a result. That's quite what he'll want to show for the pace that he's had this season so far. So Tyler Fode, expect him to come back though next season much stronger and faster than ever. I think he's going to be a serious threat if he can just nail down that consistency. Tyler Fode, look out for him.
And it's not like we were going to show his crash again or anything like that.
No, not at all. So yeah, I mean it's just great insight to talk to drivers when we do get the chance. Always enjoying that and talking about the kind of stuff that's going on the racetrack right now and what these cars are like to drive, because they are so different and so challenging as a whole, especially around a racetrack like this.
And we like to break Tyler's chops just because we can.
Always. Any driver here who wants a little bit of a ribbing from myself and Mark, feel free to hop into the broadcast booth at any time.
We kid because we can.
Oh, man. Lights are out on the pace car. We're going to get one more lap here then under caution and then get back to green flag racing. We did just pass 100 laps in this race, so a third of the way done, or approaching a third of the way done here. It is a long one, man. The laps go by quickly, but still 300 laps is no joke for sure. So we're already an hour and 15 minutes into this particular race. Probably going to be here likely for another hour or two.
Oh, lovely. But what else do we have to do besides call IndyCar racing on a Friday night? Fast Friday, to be exact. Carb day a week from today. The IndyCar Series on the Elite Racing Channel will be off after this weekend. After tonight, we'll be back on June 11th for the finale at Worldwide Texas Raceway at Gateway in St. Louis, as Chad Frankenfield tries to warm up those tires a little bit with Victor Del Porto all over his rear wing before we head back to green flag racing.
Yeah, so Del Porto now getting a chance up front here. We haven't really talked about Victor Del Porto much tonight. Nick DeGroot, though, back in the picture as well. Andrew Marquez, Yari Brubaker as well kind of up there. And David Westergreen even in the top 6. Mark Rubiales, Caleb Bensi, Jared Rexing, Alexander Van Descent rounding out that top 10. So really shaking up order here. And for Chad Frankenfield, though, he's going to love that. A lot of those primary rivals that he was really fighting with earlier on in this race further back in the order. And Chad Frankenfield gets a nice big jump on Victor Del Porto as we go back to green flag racing.
Frankenfield heading down the backstretch at full speed, weaving back and forth. Del Porto and Nick DeGroot all over Del Porto's rear end as they head down into turn 4. Can Nick DeGroot come around and take that? Not quite there, but heading into turn 1. Your top 3 cars all within 0.3 of a second of each other. Here comes Nick DeGroot around the outside on Del Porto.
Here we go. He's going to have the run, I think, but the question is going to be, can he hang on the outside of turns 3 and 4? He is
That's
just
the first
ahead.
time he's made it stick.
There
That's
we
the first
go.
time anybody's made it stick on the outside. Chad Frankenfield doing that Cobra-like move, weaving up and down the backstretch, trying to throw the air off of everybody else behind him.
Yeah, but Nick DeGroot, great move there by that 89 car, getting that run off of turn 2 and then
Ooh, let's
it
watch
up.
Marquez. Ooh, Marquez dives down to the inside, and he'll take it around to Porter on the inside.
Yes, there you go. Andrew Marquez, we talked about how strong he was early on in this race. He's got the track position again. Look out for Andrew Marquez. I think, especially on the restarts, he's one of the fastest guys out there on fresh tires with that full tank of fuel here. Look at how high up the racetrack he goes to set himself up for the run down this back straightaway.
Jari Brubaker up to 5th now. Bensi has recovered and is back in 6th. Rexing 7th. Van Desant 8th. Henry Bennett 9th. And David Westergreen rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, right now, really shuffled order that we've got going on here. But, there you go. Jared Rexing with the fastest lap of the race in the 7th position. Rexing right now kind of hanging back, watching as all of this battling unfolds right in front of him. As Caleb Bensi trying to get past Jari Brubaker in the number 88 car. And it is going to be Bensi sliding on by there and taking back over the 5th position. This 21 car is coming for Chad Frankenfield. Before that, Nick DeGroot is coming for Chad Frankenfield side by side through turns 1 and 2. This 89 car wants the lead back.
Chad cuts across, cuts off DeGroot going down the backstretch. A slight lead going through 3 and 4. DeGroot taking a bit of that higher line through as they come around through the dog leg there.
So here's what, this is going to be interesting. What can DeGroot do? He's taking that higher line in 1 and 2. Can he get the run off and then clear Chad Frankenfield like he did earlier in this run? Not quite able to get side by side with the 15 car in 3 and 4. He's going to try that higher lane, but I think you need to be side by side if you're able to make that move kind of work there. So Nick DeGroot, a lot of pace in that 89 car right now, looking to try and get the lead back from Chad Frankenfield.
Andrew Marquez has moved up to 3rd now. Starting to take dead aim at Nick DeGroot.
Behind him, Victor Del Porto hanging on and trying to defend from Caleb Bensi. Jari Brubaker, both of those guys coming for him. Bensi does clear Brubaker in the 88. Caleb Bensi now trying to look to see if he can get past Victor Del Porto. This 21 car, one of the fastest guys on the racetrack today. Led a number of laps in that last stint there before kind of getting trapped a little bit by that caution flag. He's trying to make his way back up the order, but has to be patient trying to get by these cars. Some of these guys not drivers he's raced with too much tonight, so needs to learn their lines, the way they drive around these corners, around this racetrack, and the best places to pass. So a lot of learning right now for Caleb Bensi, a little bit deeper in the pack.
This line that Frankenfield takes coming down the back stretch, I know it's legal because the whole idea is that he's got the right to the racing line and he can make the first move, but it still sort of just seems like blocking to me.
Yeah, let's kind of see. I guess I haven't been looking too closely. I see him he loves that inside lane, and this time stays up against the outside. So nothing there from Chad Frankenfield, but
let's keep watching because he's doing that little Cobra-like snake move that Simon Pagenaud made famous at Indy a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we'll take a look and see if we get a chance to see that again, because Nick DeGroot is starting to press on this 15 car once again, and yeah, just trying to break that draft. These guys are making aggressive moves up and down the racetrack, and just as you start talking about it, it seems like Chad Frankenfield may be listening.
He knows we're talking about it.
He's just like, maybe I won't do this while they've got the camera on me yet.
Yeah, he doesn't want race control to pay attention to it too much. DeGroot is all over Frankenfield right now.
Yeah, the big question for DeGroot right now is he burning through those tires trying to push past this 15 car? You know, he's got to be a little bit careful there to make sure he can run if we do have another long run that gets us through, you know, this particular fuel and tire stint.
Starting to catch up to lapped traffic again.
Yep, that's, who is that? Is that Hunter
Madonia,
Smith?
Either Hunter, yeah, it's Hunter Smith in the green car.
Yeah, so Hunter Smith going down a lap there. We saw him involved in that incident early on in the race, kind of driving around right now with a pretty badly damaged car, and just getting those laps in because, I mean, we've seen you can finish a race 4 laps down and still be inside the top 10 sometimes with how these 500-mile races go.
And that's, of course, critical with one race to go left in the season. You still want a good showing for the entire season if you can pull it off, even if tonight's race didn't turn out the way you wanted.
Caleb Bency. Look at this guy. I mean, Caleb Bency makes 2 positions up, I think, in this past lap, basically.
Yeah,
Nick
he's
DeGroot
not
and
second.
Marquez.
And he's taking aim at Frankenfield now.
Yeah, that was a huge lap for Caleb Bency there. 0.3 of a second faster than anybody else around him. Yeah, this 21 car coming fast for Chad Frankenfield. Again, we've talked about just how quick he's been here tonight. Right now, trying to see if he can grab that lead back away from the 15 car.
Bency has 1 win on the season so far, but it's on the road course and the road and street course at Long Beach early this season. He has not won on an oval yet this year.
Yeah, I mean, but he's shown really great pace. He's been one of those guys that's just been competitive at every racetrack. Hasn't quite had you know, the wins to necessarily back it up, but also not a lot of guys have had the wins because it's been really the Henry Bennett show, and you know, if we're talking just purely wins, it's been the Henry Bennett and Adriana Pinheiro show really this season, and just sheer wins.
Yeah, Caleb and Chad are the only other drivers that have won a race this season besides those 2.
Yeah, exactly. So not a ton of different race winners here, just 2 multiple race winners, those being Bennett and Pinheiro. Adriana Pinheiro, we haven't talked about him tonight because he isn't actually racing tonight. I believe there's actually an India Open event that's going on, which is why we actually have quite a small field versus what we normally see kind of upwards in the higher 20s. Right now, we started this race with just 24 cars.
Andrew Marquez has passed Nick DeGroot again to move into 3rd position. He's been battling with DeGroot for the last couple of laps. Bency all over Frankenfield right now.
Yeah, here we go. This will be the outside move here from Caleb Bency. Can he make it stick? Can he get side by side with Frankenfield, and or will Frankenfield take away that air? Yeah, it looks like Frankenfield's got the advantage right now. Caleb Bency, though, looking very quick, but I mean, yeah, we've seen guys come up and try to pass Chad Frankenfield, and they've fallen back afterwards. But here, ooh, Bency looking to the inside, maybe trying to see if he can get there. Doesn't quite get there. Chad Frankenfield, you know, doing that same blocking maneuver in the sense of just keeping that bottom lane. We saw that with Caleb Bency. We saw that with Nick DeGroot. We saw that with Henry Bennett. That is the best way to maintain the lead, is to just hug the inside lane. And Andrew Marquez now going to take away that line from Caleb Bency, and Marquez moves up to 2nd.
Let's watch as they head through the tri-oval right now and see if, here comes Marquez trying to go underneath Frankenfield. Backs out a little bit. Caleb Bency moves it back into 2nd. Nick DeGroot may have a run on Marquez here coming into the turn. Van de Sant comes down underneath DeGroot.
Yeah, here we go. Van de Sant makes the move in, and yeah, I mean, that's just how quickly the momentum can change on these racetracks. You know, Caleb Bency just lost all of that momentum a lap ago, and he's back now side by side with Chad Frankenfield fighting for the lead. Marquez looked like he was about to slide on past both Bency and Chad Frankenfield. He's now fighting, hanging on for 3rd position against Alexander Van de Sant. So crazy how
and Van de Sant has moved up into 3rd over Marquez. Bency and Van de Sant are both running for the Raceverse team.
Yeah, these Raceverse cars are coming and looking strong here right now. Van de Sant kind of been a little bit quiet early on in this race, but look at the pace that 97 car has now. He's catching up to his teammate, and these guys are looking strong if they can both try and somehow double team this 15 car, and you see there that kind of weave from Chad Frankenfield, just trying to break the draft as much as possible, so that there's minimal advantage for Caleb Bency and Alexander Van de Sande.
We have the Caleb Bency fan club on YouTube tonight. Kathleen Schumann says, awesome moves by the 21 cars so far.
Absolutely, yeah. Lots of Caleb Bency fans there. I see Mike Bency as well, a relative of Caleb Bency in the comment section. Neela Bency as well commented earlier on in the event. So yeah, we got the full Caleb Bency fan club here, hanging out and watching here, and hoping that this 21 car can make the move. And he's gonna go to the inside this time in turn 1.
And he'll make it. He makes it stick coming out of 1. They're side by side coming down the back stretch. Frankenfield back out in front slightly. And Bency will tuck back in behind. Let's hope that the entire Bency family isn't on the same Wi-Fi channel with Caleb and they don't cause any netcode issues.
Yeah,
I kid, of course.
Close racing here between these two guys. That could have been very tricky there into 3 and 4. And you saw there the advantage of defending even on that top line where you can keep that pace off of turn 2. That allowed Chad Frankenfield to stay in front here. But yeah, Caleb Bency right now so strong. A lot of pace in this 21 car. He's just looking to line it up. You need to time it just to perfection in order to try and make a move around this racetrack. He's going to try again, though, this time on the outside of Chad Frankenfield. They're side by side heading into turn 1. Can Caleb Bency make the move stick this time around?
Frankenfield with the lead heading down the back stretch. Opens up to about a 2-car length lead heading into turn 3. We still have 200 laps to go tonight here at Virtual Texas in the safe antifreeze and coolants 500.
Yeah, Alexander Van de Sande now kind of joining in this battle right now, maybe trying to get past his teammate, if he can. But yeah, guys now single filed out pretty well as this run continues to go on, and we might start seeing fewer and fewer opportunities as there's just more wear on these tires. You can't quite hang it on the outside, but here we go. I mean, Bency with the run again. You see just how big that run can be when you line it up just perfectly. He's going to try that outside. I don't think it's going to work this time. He didn't have enough of a run there, I think, down the front straightaway, but he's got to set it up. I think the way to get past Chad Frankenfield is going to be force him off that bottom.
Well, you've also got to get him and Van de Sande to start working together just to get the aero lined up so that they can work together and make it easier to draft off of Chad Frankenfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Here you go. You'll see Bency trying to work that top side again. Van de Sande going to the bottom, and Bency's going to kind of slide back in front of his teammate again. So, yeah, that top line maybe not working too well anymore, especially with these worn tires. So we're seeing it's just not really the move to overtake. Maybe at the start of a run, it's the option, but as this run goes on and on and on, you're kind of just stuck here. You can hang it there on the outside, but you can't make the pass.
And Van de Sande is making up ground on Bency, staying to the low lines going through the corners. Now there's that move by Frankenfield. Sort of that little bob and weave coming down the backstretch that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, the biggest thing there is probably just trying to break the draft as much as possible. Yeah. I don't think that's anything that that race control is going to have to take a look at, but could potentially be something, especially if it's a late defensive move.
Yeah, to me it looks like blocking, although it really isn't.
Yeah. I think where it could potentially become dangerous if he does that right when a car's got a run on him. But he hasn't done that. We haven't seen that yet. So, no concerns from up here. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you have to do when you're the leader. You don't have a car to draft off of to give you that pace as Bency once again tries to make that outside lane move, but not quite able to get it done there. You've got to just kind of cut away that draft, take away whatever advantage you can from the guy behind. Bency wants that inside line so badly. You can see he's trying to maybe just get a little bit underneath the rear wing of Chad Frankenfield, get that car in front of him loose so he can take that, that bottom line away from him. But Chad Frankenfield right now doing exactly what he needs to do to leading this race, keeping that bottom lane there, making it very hard for Bency to get past.
Yeah, if this were NASCAR, we'd be talking chrome horn, but you can't do that with the Indy cars.
Well, you can, but it's a little bit more
on a road
risky.
course. You can get away with it, but not at 230.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get a very stern talking to by the stewards, and you're probably going to break your front wing as well and do a little bit more damage to your car. So nothing quite nothing quite like that here.
That's when
IndyCar
Van de
Series.
Sant takes over the lead.
Exactly. Van de Sant's just like, all right, you guys do whatever you want. I'll happily wait here and watch as you guys crash out. And I'll you know, drive off into the sunset. He's putting together these really good runs off the corner of 4. I think what might even be best for him is to really back off that initial corner, because I don't think he's going to get the move done in turn 1, especially on the outside.
I wonder if he's setting Frankenfield up.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I don't know if he's maybe trying to force Frankenfield to think he's going to go high and force Frankenfield high and maybe steal that bottom lane up, what that mind game kind of is. Because he's tried the same move a number of laps in a row, and it's clear at this point in the run that move's not going to work unless he has a massive run on the 15 car. So I'm curious. Maybe he's trying to make Chad Frankenfield think he's always going to go to the top side, and then eventually trick that 15 car, or what the game plan here is for the 21 car, because he's got the speed. It's in that car. It's just a question of timing that pass to perfection, because you really do need to be perfect at this point in a tire.
And it also could be setting up for what they may need later in the race, too. And just seeing where that car can go and what it can do and where they know they can put it and still be able to pull a pass off.
100%. Yeah, you want to understand exactly what your race car is going to do at every single inch of this racetrack. That's what you do over the course of the 500 miles, that when you get, like I was saying, to lap 325, you're ready to put that car wherever you can stick it, wherever it makes grip, to try and make moves, to try and defend your lead or try and make passes for the lead. That's what these races are. It's really 325 laps of setup for a 10-lap shootout. That's really what these kind of races are.
We still have 14 cars on the lead lap. Tom Holland in the 31 is the last car on the lead lap, and he is starting to show up in the sights of the leaders, Chad Frankenfield and Caleb Benzie.
Yeah, Holland maybe about 5 or 6 seconds, I think, down the road from these guys, so they'll start seeing this car pretty soon. Chad Frankenfield will start getting a draft from him pretty soon, so that'll help Chad in terms of extending his gap. He is now up to 0.6 of a second ahead of Benzie, and that was one of my concerns is, has Benzie now burned through his tires a little bit too early in this stint?
That could be, because he has 8 more laps on those tires than Frankenfield does on his.
Yeah, and that's all a result of him having to stay out to get that lap back to join this lead lap battle. So once again, he's kind of put himself in a bit of a danger zone. Not by necessarily his strategy there, but that's just where he's been forced to go. So he is in that danger zone by 10 laps, and you really don't want to be there. So he's hoping that a caution comes out before he has to make a pit stop, or after everybody else makes a pit stop. Because right now Benzie is on the oldest tires here, and he is coming down pit road now. Let's watch, because we are in green flag pit stop time now. Yeah, so Benzie brings it down. He's going to make it. He's going to be fine in terms of hitting pit road, but now again he's going to be biting his nails for the next 7 to 10 laps here, hoping that everybody else on the racetrack keeps those cars on the racetrack as we go through green flag pit stops.
Keep in mind, lap times are just over 24 seconds for the leaders at Texas, and he's already been on the pits for 25 seconds with the Delta time. He's been in the box for 8 seconds, so he will fall a lap down. Yeah, there's no way to avoid it, falling a lap down with a green flag stop here.
Yeah, exactly. There really is no way to avoid it. It's just the way this type of racing is, with how big this racetrack is, or how small this racetrack is, or I guess with these cars going around so quickly. But yeah, you're so nervous, especially if you're the first guy to pit. Yes, it puts you on great tires, and you can potentially, if everything stays green, you could leapfrog guys like Chad Frankenfield because you've got that better pace early on. But you're also in such a risk zone of, if a caution comes out, you could drop down a lap, and we saw that exactly right there with with Caleb Benson.
Van de Sant is now less than a second behind Frankenfield. Jared Rexing is tucked in behind Van de Sant for third place. Marquez is fourth, and Nick DeGroot is back up to fifth now. Henry Bennett, after falling a lap down, has worked his way back up into a sixth position.
Frankenfield's on pit road. Here we go. So, all right. So that's kind of saved Bensi from that right now. The caution could still come out and hurt a lot of these guys. But we'll take a look here. That's kind of interesting that Chad Frankenfield came down so soon here. We're looking at lap 50 or so on that run, 50 to 52 on that run. That is the side effect of leading the entire way through this stint.
Right, you just can't pull up and ride in the draft for a bit. You have to be out front leading, and that does hurt the tires over time. Van de Sant is in the lead now. Rexing is 0.2 of a second behind, 0.3 of a second. Marquez third, Nick DeGroot fourth, Henry Bennett fifth.
Yeah, they're nice and spread out here right now. 0.4 of a second, 0.3 of a second to Jared Rexing for Alexander Van de Sant, your current race leader. The question I want to kind of take a look at is, so here's Chad Frankenfield exiting pit road, is Chad Frankenfield coming back down pit road? He is.
Wonder what happened. This is not good.
Yeah, something very strange happened to our current race leader, effectively. Chad Frankenfield coming back down pit road there for a second time. Did he miss his pit box?
Speed violation, I'll bet.
Speed violation, yeah.
Because he's doing a pass through.
Let's take a look. Is he gonna? Yep, no stop for Chad Frankenfield. All speeding down pit road. That'll end your day for someone like Chad Frankenfield right now. 2 laps down from our leader. 1 lap down from Caleb Bensi, who just went past. So that's huge. Caleb Bensi now becomes your effective race leader. That is massive. Chad Frankenfield making a mistake that he could not make. Look, the race isn't over. We're just past the halfway point here, or we're approaching the halfway point. But man, oh man, you can't make those kinds of mistakes in a race like this.
Oh, no, not at all, because fortunately there's enough time left that if he can get back up to 1 lap down and then maybe get the wave through on a yellow, he might be able to get that lap back. Let's see, who was that just pitting now?
Alexander Van de Sant, your race leader at that point. Now
Okay.
Jared Rexing takes over the lead of this race. I think he might dive for pit road relatively soon as well. Henry Bennett, Victor Del Porto, all currently staying out while the rest of the field has come in for their most recent pit stops.
Rexing stays out. Bennett back up to second. Del Porto third.
Bennett 1.2 seconds back from Jared Rexing right now. Victor Del Porto right on the tail of Henry Bennett. Then you go all the way back to Alexander Van de Sant, who's coming off pit road right now.
Rexing pitting now.
Here's the gap between these two teammates. You see there, Caleb Bensi versus Van de Sant. Van de Sant, I think, is going to come out in front of his teammate. Is he going to get up to speed, though, in time to stay in front of teammate Caleb Bensi? That could have been a great in and out lap here from Alexander Van de Sant. And it looks like he will get up to speed in time to stay ahead of Bensi. So Van de Sant beats Bensi off of pit road on pit cycles there. And there you go. 97 car now becomes your effective race leader, I believe.
Right, we still have to wait for Del Porto, Bennett, and Rexing to pit.
Yep.
Well, Rexing is in the pits. And Bennett's pitted now.
Yep, Victor Del Porto now the only guy still staying out. Waiting for him to come down pit road.
That should be the next time by, I would think.
You would assume, yeah. I mean, right now,
he's done 60 laps.
Yeah, 60 laps. This has been impressive from Victor Del Porto. A lot of fuel saving in this run. Gonna give him some more options later in this race for strategy. But yeah, I fully expect him to come down this lap. Probably, yeah. There we go.
There he comes. Yeah.
So here comes Henry Bennett off the pit road, but he's gonna get passed quickly there by Van de Sant, Caleb Bensi, Jared Rexing as well. There goes Andrew Marquez. So Bennett is going to rejoin in 6th position right now. Will eventually be in the 5th position. Might lose another spot, though. Nope, those are lapped cars there. Chad Frankenfield, one of those. As Brian Blauman and Henry Bennett, that's the battle going on here for the effective 5th spot. Victor Del Porto just hits his box and, yeah, should eventually, though, give up that lead to Alexander Van de Sant. Blauman, though, with the move on Bennett. Can he make it stick, though, on the inside? Bennett goes a little bit high in 3 and 4. Blauman up into 6th position. And so there we go. So
Del Porto hits the pit.
Yep.
And things get back to somewhat approximating normal right now with Van de Sant in the lead, followed by his teammate Caleb Benzie.
Here we go. Here's the kind of merge for Del Porto. He's going to come out behind Nick DeGroot, so a lot of time lost there kind of effectively for Victor Del Porto. He comes out in P8 now. So this should be our fully kind of organized field as everybody's been down pit road relatively recently. Caleb Benzie on the oldest tires there, but Alexander Van de Sant now your new leader by 0.8 of a second.
And Benzie has, what, about 7 more laps on those tires than the rest of the field?
Yeah.
9 laps.
9 laps.
So we'll start watching for pit stops again, probably around lap 205.
Yeah, assuming we're able to stay green there. Right now we're watching the battle here for 5th position between Henry Bennett and Brian Blauman. Blauman right now holds 5th. Bennett trying to grab that back. Nick DeGroot as well watching this battle go on and trying to join in there as well. It's really spread out up front, though. Van de Sant 6. Oh, as we've got a car in the wall. Guys, oh,
that's Rexing.
Bennett hits Rexing.
Oh.
I don't believe that might be it.
Look
there
at
will
that
be
left
no
front.
triple crown for Henry Bennett if that damage is as bad as it looks on that car. Let's take a look and see. We saw the aftermath of that incident, but it was Jared Rexing in the number 10 car who caused that wreck by the looks of it. I think we're about to see a wreck that looks oh so familiar in this race here, and it's going to be wide off of turn 2 for Jared Rexing.
Yep.
Back into the inside wall, but this time the car bounces so strong out. Ooh, Chad Frankenfield, I think, even got some damage.
And there's Bennett.
Yeah, Bennett grabbed some damage there as well. So
he hit both sides because he hit Rexing with the left front and hit the wall with the right front.
Ooh, man.
Can we get that from Bennett's in-car?
Absolutely. Let's take a look here. So Henry Bennett, the guy running in 5th place, could have some pretty bad damage on that number 1 car, and as he's rolling around the racetrack, it looks like it to me. We'll take a look and see what this onboard looked like as Henry Bennett, hits, just kind of skims that 10 car of Jared Rexing. So here we go, onboard Henry Bennett battling with Brian Blauman for the 5th position. You see the smoke up on the racetrack. Everyone's checking up. He thinks he can make it, just doesn't.
So it doesn't look like he hit the right side against the wall or the safer barrier, but he did prang that left side bad.
Yeah, definitely bad damage on this number 1 car for Henry Bennett.
Our 5th caution of the night.
We'll keep an eye out here, and you see, so Blauman, no damage on that 29 car. He has a normal pit stop, but you can see Bennett now sitting on pit road 12, 13, 14 seconds. There's damage on that 1 car. So the visual damage we saw does back that up. So, yeah, damn, a brutal hit there for Henry Bennett in terms of getting damage, and Chad Frankenfield, I think, also picked up damage from that incident. Let's actually head back. I kind of want to see what happened with the 15 car because he's been sitting on pit road for a few minutes or a few seconds as well. So yeah, Frankenfield's day goes from bad to worse, from leading the race and dominating the last stint to now being with a lot of damage on that car. So all right, let's take a look here. We're gonna watch.
Let's thank our iRace Online sponsors. They build and race simulators, and they've been doing it for over 20 years now. Check them out at iRace.online.
So similar thing with Bennett. It wasn't even it's not like a hard hit. It's just nicking that right side tire, and that's how bad the damage can get for you.
Yeah.
Frankenfield on pit road, but yeah. Big shout out to iRace Online. They certainly get their money's worth, I think, with the replays that we get to show here in the iRacing or in the Elite Mega Driver 86 IndyCar Series.
Hey, don't forget we have to pick a KNP Paints graphics paint of the race later tonight. We should start keeping an eye on that because we are now just about halfway through this race.
Yeah, we absolutely should, and we can flip through a couple of these liveries as we head over for a quick little break here with a word from our sponsors here at the Elite Racing Network.
My name is John Cunningham with C2 Freight Resources. We are a Hub Zone certified logistics company here in Houston, Alabama. We've been in business for over 20 years, working with the Department of Defense and the federal government, among many other customers. C2 is committed to truckload shipments along with less than truckload shipments across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Our high level of service is what keeps our customers coming back year after year. Our industry-leading transportation management software, along with our tracking software, allow our customers to know where their shipments are at any time, any day. In closing, C2 Freight looks forward to earning your trust and business through actions day in and day out. We know if given the opportunity, you'll be pleased with our service and communication.
Richmar Florist makes every day a special day, from weddings and large events to that little something for any occasion. Richmar Florist has the perfect floral expression, and they're open online 24/7 at richmarflorist.com. Everywhere, every day. Richmar's 2 retail locations offer a fantastic selection of floral creations, gifts, and home decor. Book your free consultation in our showroom for your special event needs, and visit us online at richmarflorist.com today.
We are back at virtual Texas Motor Speedway, the Mega Driver 86 IndyCar Series on the Elite Racing Network. I'm Mark Gillespie along with Rich Kozla. We're in caution period right now, the 5th caution of the night. Lap 172 out of 334 for an accident involving Jared Rexing. That also caught up in the collateral damage our series leader, Henry Bennett, and Chad Frankenfield, who had led a lot during the race tonight. Bennett managed to get back on the track and stay on the lead lap. He is the last car on the lead lap right now. But it's getting a little tight now. We only have 7 cars on that lead lap as the pace car pulls off. Rish.
Yeah, we'll have one more lap here under caution, effectively, to get back to racing. The big news is going to be the fact that Chad Frankenfield and Henry Bennett are both running on the racetrack, so they kind of survived that incident. Though Frankenfield still remains 1 lap down. He's just coming off pit road right now. Henry Bennett, though, did an amazing job to stay on the lead lap of this race. So, I mean, whenever you think this one car's out of it, he's absolutely not. We don't know the extent of the damage on Henry Bennett's car, but, I mean, if that car is still driving straight, if it still has even remotely close to the same speed it had before, do not count out this one car because he could certainly still come back and win this thing.
And if he does win tonight, it would be the Triple Crown after winning earlier this season at Michigan and 2 weeks ago at Indianapolis. So he could claim the Triple Crown and be the first driver in the Elite Racing League to claim the Triple Crown in the IndyCar Series.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a huge achievement if he could get it done. But we are getting back to green flag racing here, and it's going to be Van de Sant over Bensi over Victor Del Porto. And yeah, Henry Bennett's got some work to do right now. Sits as the last car on the lead lap, which is both good and bad. Oh, there we go. Del Porto, I think, with it. No, that wasn't even Del Porto with the move. Who is that? That's Jari Brubaker trying to get his lap back there, making an aggressive move on Caleb Bensi. And here we go, trying to make a move on the leader, Alexander Van de Sant. Jari Brubaker desperately wants that lead lap back.
And if he's not careful, there's going to be another caution.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Brubaker, you can see this, the aggression.
He's 2 laps down right now, currently shown in 11th position.
Yeah, he is. So just trying to get one of those at the very least back. And yeah, you see that car right now hunting down this leader. And yeah, if you're Alexander Van de Sant, you might just want to let this 88 car go by, especially with how aggressive and how hard he wants to get back on this lead lap here. Probably don't want to get involved in any kind of incident there. So we'll take a look, but they've already started.
The only problem with that is if you slow down to let Brubaker go by, then you wind up getting passed by by the guy in third, Del Porto.
Oh yeah, so there's always
or Caleb Bensi rather. So your teammate.
There's always a problem there, and here you go, Caleb Bensi now getting back past Jari Brubaker, and Bensi's going to see if he can make the move on his teammate. Bensi to the inside in turns 1 and 2.
Doesn't quite make it stick, tucks back in behind Bandesant. And Brubaker is forcing Bensi down into this low line on the backstretch and coming in through the turns that he may not want to take.
Yeah, for sure here. We just saw Marquez take the line or take the position away from Victor Del Porto, but here you go. Right now, Caleb Bensi is, in fact, in front of Jari Brubaker, but this could certainly get interesting if Jari wants to try and get past. A little bit further back, I think we see Brian Blauman looking for a move here now on Victor Del Porto. He's going to get by as Del Porto goes a little bit high in turns 3 and 4.
It's almost like Del Porto let Blauman get by. I'm not sure why, but just the way he took that high line through.
Yeah, it did look like a very easy overtake there. Potentially Del Porto just trying to, we saw him last run running longer on his fuel than anybody else, so possibly just saying, hey, look, I'll get out of your way. I'm planning to run real long on this stint.
And there's a lot of time left to go. We're only on lap 179, so.
Yeah, lots of racing still to go in this one, and meanwhile back up front, it really is. This is a really interesting addition to this race here for the lead because Jari so badly wants to get back on that lead or get one of those laps back. So he's kind of the guy who's putting more.
And it's not like Yari's a brack marker normally. He's been up in the front a lot this season. He just got put down behind by circumstances beyond his control earlier in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So, always a strong driver there by the 88, and you can see that just with how strong he's been against our race leaders, Alexander Benesant and Caleb Bensi. The big thing is just, and here we go.
He almost clipped Marquez coming around.
Yeah, so
trying to get back around.
So that's the real worry right now is, he has every right to do what he's doing here. It's just, if you're a lead lap car, you're like, man, I don't know if I want to deal with this right now because Yari's driving this like he's got nothing left to lose because he really doesn't. He's 2 laps down. Yeah. He needs to just make those moves. The rest of these guys, they're in the lead lap. They still got a long way in this race to go. They're hoping that their car is still in one piece by the time we get to the end of this race.
Exactly. Brubaker has nothing to lose by doing this. Everything to gain if he can get a lap back and then get the wave around. Even if he does get that lap back, though, he would still be in, at best, he doesn't really gain a position because there's 4 other drivers who are 1 lap down, or 3 other drivers.
Yeah, it's kind of a process, I guess, for Jari in terms to getting himself back on the lead lap or gaining any positions out of it. But still something I'm sure he wants to try and do as best of his ability because, we've seen cautions fly tonight, and I'm sure we haven't seen the last one. So, he can get wave arounds, he can get things like that if he plays his cards right and get himself back on the lead lap, get himself back in this race. So this is just kind of maybe quickening that process a little bit rather than having to wait for maybe 1, 2, 3 cautions to get himself back on the lead lap.
Well, he's fallen back behind Andrew Marquez now, but now taking a run on Marquez on the inside.
Yeah, here we see kind of taking away that line from Marquez, and that's actually going to let the 29 of Brian Blauman slide on past Andrew Marquez. Those two go side by side now across the line. Blauman's going to take the lead over Marquez, but we know Marquez likes to run this way high line, and there he goes again. Can he get the run now on this 29, take that position back?
Not quite. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, he gets close. They're almost side by side, but I think Blauman just enough to clear Marquez right now in this race. But the problem for Blauman now is...
Can we get on Marquez's in-car?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the problem for Blauman now is he's going to have to deal with, Jari. Look at just how high Andrew Marquez goes. I love this line by Marquez. I've been watching this all race, and I've been talking about it all race because it's just different from everyone else, what everyone else is doing. And we talked about this with, who was it? I think it was Stephen Wilson was running that completely unconventional line at the Indy 500. And I love that. I love guys who try different things. It works. And we're seeing it work here for Andrew Marquez as well. If you work on your car to make it work for a different type of racing line, you can make moves because you're suddenly on a part of the track that nobody else is using. And you can try and get that to work. It's maybe not the fastest all the time. I think he's going to have to be able to adjust both on the top and bottom lanes. But, yeah, I love the fact that Marquez has the ability to switch up his lanes, have a car that can go anywhere on the racetrack.
And just remember, this can't happen in the real world because there's PJ1 up in those turns at Texas.
Yeah, let's enjoy the
leftover 2- and 3-year-old traction crap on the ground track.
man, yeah. I honestly, let's enjoy this. I know they've been adding some grip strips to tracks on iRacing, so hopefully we don't get that kind of effect here in IndyCar with the same PJ1 compound. So, yeah.
I mean, the racing at Texas over the years has been some of the best we've ever seen in the real-world IndyCar Series, and you have to wonder with the news we got this week that Eddie Gossage, the longtime president at Texas Motor Speedway, is stepping down after next month's All-Star race in the NASCAR Cup Series. You have to wonder if this is going to be the end for IndyCar after the contract expires next year.
Yeah, we'll have to kind of see. I'm curious kind of how it all pans out, because I know there was a ton of calling for Gossage stepping down after the IndyCar race. Because of the PJ1, usage at the racetrack. So
well, everybody was calling for, but that didn't mean he was going to do it. He was kept saying, "No, we're not going to repave the track. We just repaved it. Suck it up and live with it."
Yeah, but potentially I'm curious to see how that pans out, because the thing that is unfortunate about the IndyCar Series right now is we are lacking a lot of ovals. I think there can be. And oval racing is something that makes IndyCar so unique, is open wheel cars on high-speed ovals. You just don't see that anywhere else in the world. And that's something that we really want to avoid losing in the IndyCar Series.
It really depends on who takes over at Texas for Gossage. And let's hope that they're an IndyCar fan.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, the way I see it, it's hard not to be an IndyCar fan, but I suppose we're a little biased here.
But Gossage has been one of IndyCar's biggest supporters over the years. Yeah. When other tracks weren't as eager to take IndyCar on, he not only brought the series to Texas once a year, but twice a year at times, because he saw the value in it. And when they got their second Cup race, that's when the money started making a difference.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. So, yeah, we'll kind of have to see, I suppose, in terms of what the future holds. But, no, I mean, Texas it typically would, especially when you go back to the likes of the DW12 era, especially late in the DW12 era, I think put on some great races once you got past the pack racing. That to me was kind of the essential Texas type race. And I definitely, I think we should try and go back to that if we can go back to Texas. Get more mile-and-a-half type racetracks, places like Homestead Miami Speedway. We went there earlier this season in IndyCar. That would be great. Michigan maybe won't happen for many reasons, but that'd be a great
Homestead probably shouldn't, because you can't draw people to get out to Homestead. You have to get people. You have to get butts in the seats.
Yeah.
And Homestead's great, but if you're only going to get 10,000 fans out there, that's not enough.
Yeah, and that's something where I think it'd be really interesting to see IndyCar do something, and at some point to say, hey, look, let's do a doubleheader with NASCAR. Because, at the end of the day, while I might sit here and you might sit here saying I think the on-track action from IndyCar is better than what NASCAR puts on, and I will happily say that and on record. At the end of the day, I think NASCAR draws more fans in its current state, and IndyCar should certainly try and take advantage of that.
Which is why NASCAR will never let it happen, except at Indianapolis, because, well, the captain controls the place.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'd love to see that. I know there was some talk some time ago for IndyCar going on the Charlotte Roval during the NASCAR weekend there. I think that'd be a great start, at least, to see the IndyCars running on that racetrack. Joseph Newgarden did that demonstration run during the NASCAR race weekend. That's something I think needs to happen. There needs to be a little bit more work together. IMSA and IndyCar have worked together in the past at Long Beach, at Detroit, at those street courses. That's a great thing. I think you give the fans more of a reason to go to the racetrack. Oh, we have a car on the wall.
Let's see if it brings out our caution. Of course, NASCAR is running at Circuit of the Americas this week. Is that Chad?
It is Chad Frankenfield. There's no caution out on the racetrack, though. But Chad Frankenfield might be out of this race there. Your early leader for quite a number of laps there. Might just be day over here for this 15 car. Let's take a look and see what happens behind the 89, and the exact same crash we've seen time and time again, just tight there off of turn 2.
But this time he didn't go down into the inside wall. He held it right up against the wall.
Yeah, didn't spin it out, and that's, I think, what kept the caution from coming out. So end of the day there for Chad Frankenfield. By the looks of it, we'll see if he can get that car back out on the racetrack. But Yeah, not great right now. Meanwhile, up front, it's really been, not a ton of moves going on here during this particular stint. Alexander Van Asant's taken a stronghold on this race over Caleb Bentley. Brian Blauman kind of strongly in third position right now, 1.8 seconds ahead of fourth place Andrew Marquez. So a big gap back between this top three, but even this top three pretty well separated out. Blauman a second behind Bentley, half a second behind Bentley. Who in turn is about 3/4 of a second behind Van de Sant.
And then, of course, we have to remember that NASCAR is running its Circuit of the Americas this weekend, and if that isn't something, that is an open wheel fan, IndyCar should have been running there this year. It doesn't make any sense to replace IndyCar with Cup cars that are twice as heavy and don't have the handling, and it just frustrates me, but then again, I don't get to make the schedule.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I think when IndyCar went to COTA, it put on a good show. Obviously, you've got that the first race at COTA. We had Colton Herta come across and win his first race, at just 18 years old, which I remember watching that race and thinking, man, that certainly puts it in perspective. What
kind of jealous there, huh?
Oh yeah. Colton Herta, I think, about 15 days older than me, and I was thinking, damn, all right, go Colton, I guess.
Meanwhile, Jari Brubaker continues to try to get his laps back, and almost got into it with Brian Blauman.
Yeah, Caleb Bentley now. We saw, we knew he was 9 laps older tires, older fuel. He comes down pit road here, and we're going to see him once again go in kind of that danger zone here. And we keep talking about it whenever he has to pit early, and Van de Sant out in front right now. Right now, the interesting question is Brian Blauman versus Jari Brubaker. Blauman having to deal with this lap-down car, not quite able to get by. Brubaker just desperately trying to hold on and doing whatever he can. Again, every right to keep these defensive moves right now going on, to keep himself in this race right now.
But now he's lapped traffic and he's holding back second place. He's holding back the second place car from challenging the leader.
At a certain point, yeah, it does.
Now he needs to get out of the way.
Yeah, it's. You see here, Blauman having to make different moves, ducking and diving to try and get by Jari Brubaker, not quite able to. And yeah, this is where we start. And we talked about it at the Indy 500 with some other cars as well that were potentially causing issues at a lap down. And Jari Brubaker, for a certain point, has enough of a right to stay here and try and challenge, but the problem is he's a second and a half
But he's
back.
not challenging the leader who could, in order to get his lap back. Right
from
now, he's
Alexander
just in the way.
Yeah. At this point, it's very unlikely that he's able to get that lap back. What he's right now hoping for is that Van de Sant comes down pit road relatively soon and he's able to get that lap back. But yeah, it's tough here. And for Blauman, you can certainly probably tell that Blauman's probably getting frustrated with this 88 car.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty much calling it mildly.
Yeah, I mean, just the on-track behavior. We saw a couple of times in turns 3 and 4, Blauman just ducking and diving, trying to see if he can get by here. He goes to the inside.
Oh, no. Oh, so close.
Oh.
You saw that, too, as they were coming down. It looked like there was almost a wheel touch there. I could just see that coming.
That angle made it look like it could have been very bad. Blauman does clear that 88 car, and I'm sure he'll be very pleased about that. And Brubaker does come down pit road there, so... Yeah, not ideal there. Blauman loses some time to Van de Sant. Van de Sant, though, coming down pit road now.
That'll put Brian Blauman into the lead with a clear track ahead of him.
Yeah, so this is really push time if you're that 29 car. He's got to try and make this work. He's got a couple of extra laps over Alexander Van de Sant. Potentially, he's not going to come down this lap. So push on these laps, try and get as much speed as he can. He's got clear track in front of him and try and see if he can close that gap or potentially even leapfrog Alexander Van de Sant. Not quite sure if he'll be able to do that with that 1.5 second lead that Van de Sant had, but do whatever you can here. Make these in and out laps count as best as you can. Blauman, I think, is going to come down pit road. Not this time by. He's going to stay out for another lap.
And he's got about a 0.7 of a second lead over Andrew Marquez. He's actually been stretching that out over the last couple of laps.
Yep, he has been. So so the speed right now is there with this 29 car. He just needs to kind of hold on to this if he can. Again, try and do what he can to get himself back in this fight with those two race-verse cars, because I think Blauman was running a pretty solid third before, maybe lost some time fighting with Jari Brubaker. I'm curious to see what his pace will look like as he gets closer to the other race first cars and how that fares. Reminder that this 29 car did start on the front row alongside Henry Bennett, who right now is running in the 5th position.
And only the top five cars are on that lead lap. Van de Sant and Bensi lead the group that's one lap down. Yeah, and presumably they'll get that lap back when the leaders start to pit here in the next few laps under green flag conditions.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep watching these in and out laps or by Van de Sant and by Blauman. So Blauman on that last lap, 24.6, waiting to see what Van de Sant comes across and does in comparison here. Lap before was a 24.556. So Van de Sant a little bit of pace now over the 29 car, and that's the battle you're kind of looking at if you're that 29 car, trying to figure out, how long can he stay out without losing too much time to this 97 and trying to get an advantage later in the run. Right now, running lap 2:16, trying to, again, give yourself as much of a window to get to the end of this race with.
Let's point out Chad Frankenfield in the 15 is back out on the track. He is 7 laps down, but he is running at competitive speeds and is back out because the points do matter. And as we've said before, anything can happen in an oval race, and while he's not going to get all 7 of those laps back, he is in the fight for 2nd, 3rd, 4th place in the points championship. So it is worth it to stay out there and see what happens to the rest of the field.
100%, yeah. I mean, I can easily see, Hunter Smith potentially could have problems. Jari Brubaker, we've seen, very much could have problems. Tom Holland, Michael Goodman, Caleb, anybody in the field could have problems, and Chad Frankenfield could gain 1-2 positions here, grab himself a top 10 even with how this race has been going. So it's far from over for this 15 car. You just keep throwing in laps, even though it's tough to just sit out there and run laps. You're not racing anybody, but that's kind of what Chad Frankenfield has to do to stay in this championship battle, to take it down to the race at Gateway. I'm impressed by this 29 car and how late he's running on this fuel stint. Or I guess actually maybe not. Maybe pitted a little bit later.
He's due for about the next probably lap or two, I would suspect.
Yeah, I mean, so showing at actually just 49 laps in this stint, so maybe actually pitted later than the likes of Caleb.
Well, he pitted when everybody else did back during the last yellow.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. But then that was a pretty early stop for Alexander Van de Sant, wasn't it? I guess really burning through fuel early on for.
Well, remember, Van de Sant had that 9-lap disadvantage because of the way that he had been. He had already had to pit and then got a lap down because of the yellow flag that came out right after he pitted.
Yeah, good.
So he was 9 laps to the 9 laps worse off.
Yeah, very.
So we should see Blauman here in the next lap or two, I would think.
Probably something like that, as well as.
I mean, Del Porto's the only one who's been able to do 60 laps on a stint.
Yeah, we're running lap 51 on this stint right now. So Blauman, Marquez, Del Porto, De Groot, and Bennett all on that same strategy right now. So that's your top 5, all on I think they all pitted on that caution. So they all should be coming to pit road around the same time.
We know they're going to have to make at least 2 more stops because we have about 110 laps to go. And even if they stop now, they would still have to make a second stop just to get close to the end of the race. But if they can get 55 laps here, which would be another 5 to 6 here, then they might be able to do it on 1 more stop.
Yeah, that's the big question is what fuel game is going on. Yeah, yellows, the fuel game. I mean, there's so many factors that these guys have to take into account, and I mentioned this during the 500, but just how impressive it is for a lot of these guys that they're operating, effectively on their own here. They're not, they don't have somebody calling strategy for them, making those decisions up top. You're running this race car, you're driving this race car, and making all these decisions. How much fuel do I save? What fuel number am I working to? When do I pit exactly? And here we go. You're seeing some of these guys come down pit road. I think Blauman's going to come down. Marquez is going to come down. Del Porto, we know he likes to save fuel. He's staying out. Nick de Groot staying out. I think Henry Bennett's going to come down as well with these guys. Bennett does come down and hits pit road, I think, the lap before them. But yeah, Blauman and Marquez on this lap. Del Porto and de Groot staying out on the racetrack.
And we know Del Porto can stretch fuel. He was able to do 60 laps, like I said a few seconds ago, on the last stint. So if he can get a couple of 3 laps in here, this may help him towards the end of the race.
Oh, absolutely. So the real question right now is, where does Van de Sant come out in respect, or with respect to Blauman? Can Blauman beat Bensi off of pit road as well? Caleb Bensi right now sits 3 seconds behind Van de Sant. So here we go, Blauman off of pit road. So no, it's going to be an easy victory there for Van de Sant to get by, and easily passed for Caleb Bensi as well. So these guys staying out longer might help them later on in this race, but right now it's very clear advantage to the race first team.
Still waiting for timing and scoring to update with Van de Sant. They're still showing Van de Sant and Bensi and Blauman all 1 lap down.
Yeah, waiting for Del Porto and De Groot to come down pit road. So De Groot will come down pit road. Del Porto, of course, staying out for another lap here. Lap 57 of this run. Going to make it to lap 58. Could see him, like we saw before, go all the way to lap 60.
Let's watch it and see where Nick De Groot comes out.
And De Groot sitting on pit road. He's going to hit that box. And we'd expect to see Van de Sant and Bensi kind of slide on by fairly comfortably. Del Porto staying out for another lap here. Finally going to come down pit road. This is lap 59 for Victor Del Porto, so 1 less than he was able to do last. Oh!
Whoa! He locked it up.
Yeah, very slippery on the apron there. Great save by Victor Del Porto to keep that car pointed in the right direction there, locking up, I think it was all 4 tires effectively, while going around the corner. So
let's see if he got the pit speed limiter in time.
Yeah, looks like he should have been all right, but yeah, we'll keep an eye out, see if that 27 car goes back down pit road later in the race. But here we go, Van de Sant coming off of turn 2. He should loop around and make his way back up to the lead as Henry Bennett. Something happened to that 1 car as well on this last cycle here, as he's now sitting 2 laps down from our leader.
I wonder if it was just where he was in relationship to the leaders when everybody pitted.
Yeah, that is interesting. So
because nothing happened on the track.
Yeah, nothing happened to Bennett on the racetrack. As everything cycles back, I think Bennett's going to return to being... Is he still 2 laps down? I think he is still 2 laps down from Alexander Van de Sant. So, yeah.
Yeah, because we are back to normal now. So we did lose... yeah, because Nick De Groot is being shown as the last car on the lead lap.
So just 6 cars now on this lead lap. Van de Sant has a 3-second lead over teammate Caleb Bensi. Here's another 2.5 seconds over third place Brian Blauman. We've got second back to Marquez, second back to Del Porto, another 2.5 to De Groot, and then Henry Bennett, the first car 1 lap down. It is interesting how this race has kind of progressed. I suppose it was... We kind of saw the opposite of what you might expect to see in a race, where it was aggressive and crazy racing for the lead early on, and even on the latest restarts, there really hasn't been a ton of battling. I think once Van de Sant got out front, nobody's been able to really challenge that 97 car.
Bensi falling even farther back, and now almost 3 seconds behind. And it's clear sailing ahead for Van de Sant. There's no traffic in his path ahead. Only Bennett behind him 2 laps down.
This is really interesting in terms of how this race is playing out on these long runs. We'll see if a caution comes back in here, brings the field back together. But as it stands, I mean, it's going to take a monstrous effort for anybody to kind of touch Alexander Van de Sant, because since taking over the lead, like I said, just has not relinquished it, has not even looked back, has extended the lead over Caleb Bensi, and again, nobody's been able to pull away in this race up until Van de Sant took this lead.
Well, this is a picture we've seen a lot tonight with Van de Sant and Bennett and Chad Frankenfield. The only thing in this case is that Frankenfield is now 7 laps down, about to go 8 laps down at some point here, possibly.
watching here as Henry Bennett tries to get one of those laps back here on Van de Sant. And this is where you'd say, you know, this lap traffic is okay because you're fighting with the leader. You're working on that leader to get that lap back, not necessarily fighting a little bit further back in the order.
Well, you're not slowing up the traffic that's trying to get to the leader. That's the issue.
Yeah.
And who's that right behind Bennett? I'm having trouble seeing a number.
I believe that's the 22 car here of David Westergreen, so making his IndyCar debut start here.
And he is 15 laps down, 16 laps down now.
Yeah, I think he got caught up, I think, in a couple of incidents earlier on in this race. Also, I think certainly getting to grips here with this car. Typically runs in the Xfinity and Truck Series that we run on the NASCAR side of things. They're planning again to make that debut run in IndyCar next season.
So this is a learning experience for him, and in this case, a chance to learn how to stay out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
which is critical.
It's an important thing, and you know, again, it's a steep learning curve. We've seen this from a lot of guys who made that jump over from you know, the NASCAR side of things to IndyCar. It's not an easy jump to make. You know, these cars drive very differently from, you know, the 4,000-pound you know, stock cars that they're used to. Where, you know, you throw a car into a corner, and again, you're making corrections all the way around the corner. You're sliding that car around. You do not want to be sliding an IndyCar around any corner, especially on an oval. For that, it's really just understanding how to make the car just run with the most amount of grip at all times, never letting those rear tires slip out from underneath you, because once they do, you're going for the ride. You're not in control of that car anymore.
And there are no in-car tools that they can work with in NASCAR for the most part.
Yeah,
in the Truck Series and in the Cup cars, here you've got weight jackers, anti-roll bars, and the stuff you can adjust on the fly. And that takes a while to learn. That's a skill that you have to learn and practice over and over again before it becomes intuitive, even in iRacing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's so much work that goes into this, and perfect. And it's funny, you know, I've you know, spoken with drivers who, you know, and it's been interesting, you know, with iRacing and a lot of the professionals coming over to iRacing, of course, you get all of the, you know, professional strategies to find that performance edge, even in a fixed setup. And, you know, was talking to, you know, a couple of friends at, you know, Andretti Autosport, as well as even RC Anderson I was talking to. And there's some things you can do with the weight jacker that give you, you know, 1/10 of a second, maybe 2/10 of a second on a lap, and it can really help you out. I won't say what they are because they were told to me in confidence. But there's some really cool stuff that you can do, and it comes from just putting those laps in, testing out, and you'll literally have guys going around in testing, private testing, and we'll drive, all right, I'm going to drive around the track with this weight jacker setting for 10 laps. I'm going to drive around the track with this weight jacker setting for 10 laps. And so there's such a steep learning curve in terms of learning exactly what the tools do and how they change the way your car drives.
Which is exactly what they would be doing in the real world with these cars, too.
Absolutely. The biggest thing you're missing, and it's unfortunate. I'd love to see them add this to iRacing, because I know from especially from the NASCAR side, is adding, you know, pit stop changes to the car, where you could basically say, you know, you have a fixed setup, but all right, add a little bit of tape to a stock car, or, you know, turn the front wing a little bit up so you can change a little bit of the aero balance on the car, change tire pressures. Those things I feel like are basic setup tools that you should be able to use, not necessarily going in and being, all right, I'm going to change my spring rate, I'm going to change my rebound on my dampers, things like that. Sure, keep it fixed setup there, but I think allowing just that little bit of extra you know, leeway for guys to play around. Again, give drivers a range of tire pressures to choose from. Allow them to make edits on pit stops. I think that could really expand the way these races turn out.
Yeah, we'd have 3 guys on the lead lap. I kid.
Fair enough. No.
There are people who are very highly paid people in the IndyCar Series paid to make these decisions. It's not the driver making these calls and then punching it into the computer on the pit stop. The way that, put it this way, if the guys in the IndyCar Series had to actually make those calls themselves and were actually dialing it into the steering wheel, we'd have 3 cars in the lead lap in a lot of IndyCar races too.
Oh man, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see the drivers trying to make adjustments to their own cars. Man, that's like that old-fashioned racing. You know, you got the driver owners, that kind of stuff, where, you know, you go back to the days of like the Bruce McLarens, where, you know, you'd hop out of the car and you'd work on the car yourself and drive it and try it out. So I'm all for
Yeah,
that.
but not during a pit stop in a real race, except for AJ beating the crap out of his car with a hammer years and years ago. But Van de Sant still holds a 2-second lead as we come down to start lap number 250.
Yeah, that lead's gone down. I mean, credit to Caleb Benz. He's slowly been eating away at Alexander Van de Sant's lead. That was 3 seconds, earlier when we were talking about it. Now it's down to 2 seconds, and it's pretty quickly closing down, 1.85 seconds now. So, yeah, look out for this 21 car. He's finding some pace, 1.7. I don't know if Van de Sant actually is in any traffic. No, seems to be okay as it stands right now. So
Fuel saving.
Yeah, fuel saving could definitely be what it is. And so Bensi trying to chase down his teammate right now. Blauman closing in a little bit as well, but still sitting 4 seconds back. Marquez as well, another 2 seconds back from third position. So right now it does look like more of a two-horse race if Caleb Bensi can close back in on his teammate.
Let's see, if we go 50 laps on a stint, 334 would take it down to 284. So they need to get realistically 33 more laps in this stint to be able to finish on one stop.
Yeah, I can tell you that will not be the case for most.
That's not going to happen.
Well, at least for
Van de
Sant
Sant
and
and
Bensi. So if we do stay green, this could be very interesting because the race for the win could actually be between Blauman, Marquez, Del Porto.
Yeah.
And the guys
They
who
could do this.
could actually make it on one more stop here.
Unless we have a caution, yeah, I see your exactly. Blauman, Marquez, and Del Porto are in the best shape here because they can make it realistically 33 more laps and get to 60 if they had to, or get close. We know Del Porto can do it.
Yeah, and I think if you ask those other guys and if they've realized that they can save and make it to the end here, yeah, who knows? I mean, that's a
and
very
Del Porto's got
interesting-
5 laps in the good compared to Blauman and Marquez.
Yeah, I think if we go green
So
all
he
the way,
only has
Del
to get to
Porto
lap
is
55.
Del Porto is 100% the best shape right now.
Yeah, he has to get Del Porto has to get 56 laps total in this stint.
Yeah,
And he can do that.
which he can very easily do
Everybody
that.
else is Van de Sant and Bensi can't. No way. Blauman and Marquez are going to have to do some fuel saving to pull it off, and they may not be able to do it.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're Victor Del Porto, you're looking at this like, I mean, man, just hoping and praying that we stay green for the rest of this race because that's his best shot at a win here.
While we're watching this, Rish, who's your pick for the pole this weekend at the Speedway?
Man, I don't want to jinx anybody because I've done that in the past, and the guy that I'll normally root for, I'm not gonna say him. I'm gonna say, I'll play it safe here. I'm gonna go with the obvious answer and say Scott Dixon puts that car on the pole.
Well, Dixon did a great job today, and the Ganassi cars have been good. When it comes to Indy qualifying, I have a hard time betting on the pole, betting against the Carpenter boys.
Oh yeah.
And is that who's pitting
That
there?
is Caleb Bensi.
That's Bensi. Okay.
So that makes sense for how we know this kind of cycle typically plays out.
Yep.
Expect his teammate Van de Sant to come down in the next 5 or so laps as well to join his teammate, maybe a little bit closer to 10 laps. And that's where things get interesting again because they're in a bit of a danger zone here. So basically the best thing for the guys is either hope a caution comes out in the next 15 laps or so once Van de Sant goes down a lap, or hope it goes green all the way to the end where Van de Sant and Bensi have to pit one extra time.
When I'm thinking about the pole this weekend, I like what the Ganassi guys are doing, although I'm thinking Palou might make the pole.
You know what? Alex Palou has been extremely impressive driver since joining that Ganassi squad, especially. I mean, he was obviously impressive in Dale Coyne machinery, but that's Dale Coyne machinery. You put him in Chip Ganassi car, which is some of the best cars in the.
Whoa! There's our leader, Van de Sant.
Is that going to bring out the goal as we've got cars going around, and it does bring out the caution. So Van de Sant goes around.
Oh!
Wow!
That changes everything.
Wow! And that screws over his teammate Caleb Bensi, who's now stuck down a lap.
Let's go on the in-car and see what happened here.
Wow!
That would be our 6th caution of the night.
And we talked about how treacherous that apron can be for these guys.
Yeah.
We're right on board here with Alexander Van de Sant. He's going to dive down to pit road, slows it down, and you see there just loses it, gets loose there. I think maybe has to check up for the car in front of him. And there you go, around he goes.
Lucky he did not touch anything, but
Whew. Man,
that,
oh man.
oh yeah. This is going to get interesting.
So that
Because
just
all the strategies just got thrown out the window.
Yeah, that just gifts the lead. The first 2 spots to Blauman and Marquez now, and they're all now going to be on the same tire strategy. Caleb Bensley's going to have to rely on the wave around to get back on the lead lap. And anyways, I don't think everybody's going to have to make another pit stop after this unless we get another caution. There's no way you can make it to the end of this race right now.
And Van de Sant is still being shown in second on the lead lap, even though he spun and caused the caution. Will he get sent to the back for causing a caution?
He should be sent to the back. That's typically what the regulation is here in the Elite Racing Leagues is if you bring out the caution, you will be given an end-of-line penalty. So he will be starting last in line once everything is said and done. I think once everybody hits pit road is when they'll typically assess that penalty. So again,
is that last on the lead lap or last on the last in the field?
Last in line. So
okay.
So basically, yeah, last in the field. He will obviously end up being last on the lead lap, but he'll have to restart behind a lot of lapped cars as well. So it's going to be a tricky comeback for Alexander Van de Sant. Again, not something that he can't do. He stays on the lead lap crucially. But again, the big winners out of this are Brian Blauman, Andrew Marquez, Victor Del Porto, Nick DeGroot. Those 4 drivers are thanking their stars that it was Alexander Van de Sant who made a mistake and then also trapped his teammate down. So both race first cars are going to be down the order here when it comes to it.
And did Henry Bennett get back on the lead lap? It looks like he might have.
Yeah, Henry Bennett might be back here. The question is, though, did he have to? Yeah, he had to stay. Henry Bennett's on 36-lap old tires and fuel here.
He doesn't have a chance. He's going to have to stop again.
Yeah, and so he's right now waiting to get waved around the pace car, so he will not be allowed to pit either. So for Henry Bennett to be back in this race realistically, we're going to need a quick caution to come out right after this one, which is certainly not out of the question, as we all know, cautions breed cautions. But yeah, that's what Henry Bennett desperately needs to kind of be back in this race. Meanwhile, Caleb Bensley will then become the last car basically on the lead lap, realistically with a shot here with Alexander Van de Sant as well joining him back there. So those guys, again, only lining up 5th and 6th, so they're not totally out of it. That's kind of the race that's played out right now. But again, if you're those top 4 drivers, you've just taken out 2 of the strongest cars with the way this is played out. And so Bennett does. As
Bennett hits the pits now.
Yeah. So he should be probably okay to make it out ahead of the pace car. So no concerns there. So Bennett will get those laps back. He'll restart with the same tire strategy as everybody else, back on the lead lap. So again, Henry Bennett back in this race again, cut a break there. So yeah.
Well, let's get back to that discussion on the pole while we're still circling under yellow here.
For sure.
I'm liking Alex Palou, but I like the Carpenter guys. Any one of those 3 could put it on the pole.
My heart tells me, I'd love to cheer for Connor Daly, and he showed great pace early on in the week. So I'm curious to see.
He was doing it today too, as well. He was in the 4-lap averages today that they were running in qual sims. He was doing very well today.
Yeah. So I mean,
but the other one who was doing really well, it's a big surprise for Andretti, is Stefan Wilson, who runs in this series occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, Stefan Wilson.
And I would love to see him on the pole.
We saw him almost win the Indy 500 when he ran back in 2018, I believe it was, on strategy. And I mean, he's certainly got the talent to do it. So great to have that opportunity with Andretti Autosport to have that come up again. And yeah, absolutely. I mean,
courtesy of the IndyCar Series, the top 6 based on 4-lap average speed from Fast Friday practice: Marcus Ericsson, Colton Herta, Pato Award, Alexander Rossi, Stefan Wilson, and Takuma Sato are your top 6.
Very interesting.
So Dixon's not in there, Palou's not in there, and none of the Carpenter guys.
Yeah, huh.
But that was before the qualifying draw, too.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how qualifying draw affects these guys in terms of getting that early spot, that later spot, things like that, and how because obviously a cloud comes and covers the racetrack, and very suddenly, no matter where you're drawing, you've got a good shot underneath you. So there's a lot of factors that go into Indy 500 qualifying that you have to take into consideration, and
and here's the other one. We just got some no-tow report information for those cars that were not getting a tow, where there was nobody else on the same straightaway with them. Rossi was first, followed by Graham Rahal, Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon, Sato, and Herta.
Okay. Yep.
In the top 6 there. Then Ericsson, Palou, Ferrucci, Carpenter round out your top 10. VK was 14th. Wilson was 15th. The best Penske in the bunch I'm thinking Rossi should be in a Penske, but not yet, was Elio in 16th.
Elio's with Meyer Shank this year.
You're right, yes. Okay, it's Newgarden in 17th. I'm thinking back to the old days. But then, let's see, McLaughlin, Pagenaud, and Power was 32nd on the no-tow report.
Wow, okay. So, yeah, this could be very interesting.
But the two cars, if we look at this, if you look at it in the bad situation, those two that are likely to get bumped, Charlie Kimball and R.C. Enerson were 3 miles an hour off the pace. Chilton was 33rd at 229 flat. Kimball and Enerson were both running at 226s with their best performance in the no-tow report.
Well, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out on that in terms of how that plays out tomorrow, because it's going to be very interesting. But we're back to Green Flag Racing here, because we've got an iRace underway that that certainly deserves our attention here, and it is from Marquez from Del Porto is your top 3 here, so a brand new top 3 compared to what we've been seeing earlier in this event. Marquez right now hounding the back of that 29 car, trying to see if he can make it by. And again, Marquez utilizing that high line that he loves to use in turns 1 and 2, trying to get the run off the corner, as Caleb Bensi trying to get himself back into this race right now, sitting in the 5th position. Going to slide on past Nick DeGroot and grab 4th.
And DeGroot goes high there, and we have no lapped traffic in the way right now for the leaders.
Marquez looking again around the outside. They were side by side across the start-finish line. Marquez is going to have the run, but Blauman blocks off and makes it up to the wall to block Marquez. And he's going to get to the bottom lane as well before Marquez can get by. So great battle going on right now. Blauman trying to defend as hard as he can from this 87, because I said it again. I said it before. I'll say it again. Andrew Marquez, I think, is the fastest car on restarts in this field.
And that low line helps you. I mean, you can get a faster line off coming off that high line, but the lower line, of course, is actually the shortest way around the track.
Absolutely. And here
so
we go.
They even
Caleb
each other out.
Bensi.
Here comes Bensi. He's already gained 4 positions back, and he's going to take over 2nd place.
Yeah, so here we go. Bensi easily gets by Andrew Marquez, and there we go. It's going to be
and
now
Del
Bensi
Porto
versus
tucks
Blauman.
in behind him in line.
So let's see, can Del Porto get back past? I think Marquez will just have enough speed on that outside lane to get by, and even Nick DeGroot might try and get past Victor Del Porto. He's going to hang around on the outside, not quite able to get the move done there, and might give up that spot now to Alexander Van de Sant, who's going to look to the inside. Meanwhile, for the lead, it's Bensi on the inside of Blauman. So from 5th place on the restart to the lead, Caleb Bensi in just a couple of laps back there, and there we go. We see the defensive move by the 21 trying to block the 29. Very nearly see those two come together. This could be very interesting towards the end of this race between these two cars.
If they get that far.
Yeah.
Bensi out to about a 3-car length lead, heading down the backstretch.
And there you see that.
There's that weaving move again.
Trying to break that draft so that Blauman has nothing to utilize. But here we go. This 29 car going to try and get the run off of turn 4. He's going to go high. See if that's enough to get him side by side through 1 and 2. I haven't really seen Brian Blauman, though, using that high line as much as everybody else. He seems to enjoy that bottom lane. You see, even through that corner there, really doesn't like to get as high as the likes of Alexander Van de Sant or Andrew Marquez, as Van de Sant now moves up into 3rd position. Those race first cars are astoundingly quick here, as both of them kind of got screwed over by that caution, and both of them are back in this top 3 picture.
All right, let's take a look at pit strategy. We all know that all the leaders are going to have to make one more stop. When do you make it? Because we are on lap 274, 284.
Yard
Whoa, we've
Ripper.
got a car in the wall.
Ripper
in the wall.
around. Caution.
That'll bring out a caution.
Hard hit there, and I think an incident that we're oh so familiar with seeing. We'll head to the iRace Online replay, but I think I know exactly how it's going to play out. It's going to be Jari Brubaker just getting a little bit tight there off of turn 2, hits that outside wall, and he goes flying into the inside. Hard hit there, and brings out the, what is this, the 7th caution of the night?
Yep, 7th caution.
So there we go. So this is interesting. So 275, will that be enough to get guys to the end of this race?
I don't think so, because you would still have to get in 70 laps, basically.
Yeah.
Or 60 laps. Yeah, you'd have to get in 60 full laps, and Del Porto's the only one who's come close on that.
I think you pit here. You've got to. I think these guys, it's going to be a fuel strategy race from
You've
here
got
to the end.
You've got to pit here and get fresh tires.
Pit here, get fresh tires. The biggest thing is get a tank of fuel, I think. I'm curious to see. Guys are staying out, really. Oh, no. Okay, so.
They're faking each other out.
Wow. Okay. I'm not sure I agree with this call by Bensi and Blauman. I think they have to be betting on another caution then to keep themselves in this. But, 59 laps, we know it's doable. We've seen Victor Del Porto do it. You can make
But he's
it to
the
the
only
end.
one.
He's the only one who's done it, but, you just need, as we've got Chad Frankenfield almost runs into the back of another car there. But it's doable. I would have, I would have looked at that and said, yeah, absolutely. Bring the driver down. We're on this run to the end, basically, unless these guys up front here are limited on the number of tires. If the guys who just pitted, and if the guys who just pitted use their last set of tires, they could be vulnerable if we have a late race caution.
Good point. And that's the one thing we don't have access to.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't believe so we do have a new data sheet, but I don't believe that tells us the number of tire sets remaining. It just tells us the compound, which of course is fairly useless on an oval.
Yeah, which of course we got with just ovals left on the schedule.
Pretty normal. We'll be able to use it.
And
next
of course
season,
won't do
though.
anybody else in any of the other series a bit of good at all.
Oh no, it's literally just this one.
I love iRacing. I kid.
Never ceases to impress there. So yeah, so the interesting call here, Bensi, Blauman, Van de Sant staying out here on did Van de Sant come down pit road? No, Van de Sant came down, so it's just Bensi and Blauman staying out on the racetrack while everybody else behind them comes in. That to me is going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a mistake for them to stay out, but then again, I'm not the driver.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious.
That's why we're up here talking about this instead of driving.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a game plan. There's a reason why Bensi and Blauman made this call. They wouldn't just do this, without having good reason. Again, it could very well be the fact that they don't have any more tires. The guys who just came down pit road used their last set of tires and could be vulnerable with a late race caution. And in that case, then 100%, I agree with the move by Bensi and Blauman. So it's difficult for us to make that call from up here because we don't have all that information.
Right, that's a call we won't be able to make. We won't know whether we were right until the end of the race when we can talk to those guys.
Exactly, yeah. So expecting probably 2 more laps here under caution as the lights we expect to go out on the pace car this time by.
Yep.
Caleb Bensi will lead the field to the green flag. Again, Bensi and Blauman, the two guys who stayed out on this caution. And you know what I'm seeing?
Lights
Andrew
are out.
Marquez coming down pit road and grabbing just a little bit of a splash of fuel, because if we go back to green here, he only has to complete, 56, 57 laps? That's totally doable now.
34. Yep, 56.
Yeah. So smart
Or
call by Andrew
55
Marquez.
laps. 55 laps this time around.
Yeah, give up that track position, because if we do go green, Marquez now has the best ability. He doesn't have to do as much fuel save as everybody else around him now. This is very interesting in terms of how the strategy is playing out in this race and how it's shifting this field up and down. For me, it's hard still to bet against the race first guys, especially when you have one race first guy staying out and one guy who came in. I think they have the strategy covered there on that team. I don't know if that's a purposeful split strategy there. They're trying to cover their bases or what's going on there. But yeah, I mean, the race first cars look like they're the fastest cars on the racetrack here tonight. At least have looked like that most recently, and now they split the strategy, kind of covering their bases. I think it's hard to bet against either Caleb Bency or Alexander Van de Sant being in victory lane at the end of this night.
All right, the pace car is off the track. Bency will lead them around for one more lap under caution. Let's see how tightly they're able to pack up, though, because it looks like they're not packed up as tightly as we would hope.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword with packing up, because you want to be as close as possible, but the tighter that you're packed up, the more easy it is for guys to run into each other on restarts, things like that. We've seen issues happen on restarts before, things like that. It's not uncommon.
Oh, yeah.
So, on the one hand, you're trying to gain an advantage by being as close as possible. On the other hand, you don't want to be involved in a wreck. So we'll see. They're tightening up a little bit up here up front, but, at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to respond to Caleb Bency and when exactly he goes back to green flag.
Right, but you don't want him to have a 20-car length lead when he guns it.
Oh, absolutely not. And I think he's going to gun it now. And so Blauman has to respond to that as closely as possible without also, falling into the clutches of Alexander Van de Sant. And I think he does a reasonable job there with that restart. Going to stay close to the 21 car. And we're back to green flag racing here at Texas Motor Speedway, lap 280 of 330.
As Blauman comes around the outside, is he going to be able to make it work this time? Not quite. Bency will hang on. Van de Sant is right behind Blauman, going challenging for second place.
I'm going to try that higher line. He's just, I think this 29 car really strong on the bottom, not quite as strong on the top lane when he wants to go up there. But look at him. He's ducking and diving, trying to find that move, to get past Caleb Bency. And he's super competitive right now in terms of trying to get side by side with this 21 car. But I think Bency has just a little tiny bit more than whatever Brian Blauman has right now. You can see that here.
He's blocking off that low line too, to keep Blauman off there.
Exactly, and I think he's been watching. He knows that this 29 car, I think, is the strongest on the bottom lane. Unlike some other guys who might be able to make moves up top, I don't quite know if Blauman's quite comfortable doing that just yet, but he's certainly trying. He's putting that car up there whenever he's got to run, and yeah, here we go. Once again, another attempt by Brian Blauman, not quite going to get there. It seems like that outside line has kind of gone away as this race has gone on, rather than come in. It's been really interesting. It's almost been, again, with the aggression and everything, it's been the reverse of what you'd expect to see at a race like this.
Yeah, normally that outer line is the one you'd want at Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of surprised that it's kind of faded away. We saw guys able to make moves before early on in the race, but even as we put more rubber down on this line, it's still quite not able to compete with that bottom lane. And Caleb Bency utilizing that lower lane to his advantage to stay ahead right now of this 29 car. Alexander Van de Sant kind of holding on right now and watching as this battle goes on in front of him. Before he tries to pounce on these guys. Blauman once again looks to the outside, but they come together.
Contact! Blauman into the wall.
Brian Blauman into the wall there. That's probably going to bring out the caution, I would assume. I don't see any caution out on the racetrack just yet. They're still going at top speed there, but I'd be surprised if they're not bringing those cars back.
Yeah, he's into the wall. That's going to have to bring out the caution now.
These guys are still going flat out here. The speed has not decreased on these cars. I'm surprised we don't see a caution yet as Brian Blauman does tow that car back to pit road, and it's day over for the 29. So
let's take a quick look at the replay if we can.
Yeah. What on earth?
That was the leaders. That was Van de Sant, or rather Bency, that got into him.
Yeah, Bency and Blauman making contact, fighting it out for the lead.
And we don't know whether Bensi has any damage.
Let's take a look here. So Blauman looks to the outside here.
Ooh, he just came right down into Bensi.
Yeah, tough. Yeah. I want to see if we can spot the onboard here and see what that looked like as well. Let's take a look here. Go on board with that 29 car. You see there side by side. Yeah, that's a tough one to call, because on the onboard, from outside the car, it looks like Blauman went down. On the onboard, it looks like Bensi came up. I think, yeah, that's going to be interesting.
We have the view from Van der Sant's car. Let's see if we can see what Van der Sant was looking at in third.
Yeah, I think that would certainly be very telling of exactly what happened here. So let's take a look and watch. So here's the battle going on in front. The white car is Blauman, the black car is Bensi. I think Bensi came up, Blauman came down.
Bensi was holding his line more than Blauman.
I think so.
Because Bensi had come up just a fraction, but he was still on his racing line when Blauman came down. We are back to live action now. Bensi with a half-second lead over his teammate Alexander Van der Sant. We have 44 laps to go.
Yeah, this race is coming down to a close pretty quickly, and again, remember that Caleb Bensi on a very different strategy right now to that of Alexander Van der Sant. You've got a difference between these two guys of just under 20 laps in terms of fuel and tire usage. So, again, very different strategies. Bensi right now betting on another caution to get him to the end here, and my assumption would be that Bensi has an extra set of tires that Van der Sant does not. Van der Sant hoping this race goes green to the end because he will not have to make another pit stop if it does.
And then there's Del Porto lurking in the background, who is on the same strategy as Van der Sant, and we know can go the distance.
Yeah, absolutely. Del Porto, DeGroot, those guys kind of hanging back right now. And again, never count out Henry Bennett sitting there pretty in fifth position. He could certainly make something happen late in this race.
Right, he's less than 2 seconds down. Marquez is only 2.5 seconds down in sixth place, and all 6 of those cars are the only ones on the lead lap right now.
Yeah, so we'll see Van der Sant right now close to the back of teammate Caleb Bensi. We've got 0.3 of a second between these guys, and this is the closest battle on track, is the battle for the lead, and it's between teammates as well. We're saying these two looked like the strongest 2 cars in the field, and they really have been showing it. 2 seconds clear of third place, Nick DeGroot.
And Blauman was doing really well right up until that last turn when they just came down and touched wheels.
Yeah, up until that point, I think with Bennett going out, Frankenfield going out, Fody as well going out really early on in the race, Blauman was kind of the only one who could hang with these guys. And now with Blauman going out, it is just between Caleb Bensi and Van der Sant. In terms of just raw pace, certainly don't count out the guys behind, though, when it comes down to strategy.
Although those guys, starting with Nick DeGroot, are all at least 2 seconds back behind Van der Sant, who's still about 0.4 of a second behind Bensi.
Yeah, the question is how much is Van der Sant pushing right now, or is he using his teammate Caleb Bensi right now as something to keep him up to pace while also being able to save fuel, and that could potentially be what the case is for Van der Sant, pulling away
He's
from
just riding in the draft.
Yeah, pulling away from his competition, but still saving as much fuel, if not more, than what they are. So that would be huge if that's what Van der Sant is doing there, and it kind of seems like that might be exactly what he is doing.
Right, he does not have to push Bensi to win this race. He just has to outlast Bensi until he stops for fuel.
Absolutely, yeah. You ride along in your teammate's wake. You can save a ton of fuel. And again, Bensi, we know, absolutely has to pit. There's no possible way that Caleb Bensi can save enough fuel to not have to make it a trip down pit road.
And if he does make it, I want his car torn apart for inspection afterwards.
Yeah, that'll certainly get very interesting if he's able to make that. That'd be that'd be an 80-lap run or something like that close to that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Even Del Porto can't pull that one off. And he's been the master of fuel saving tonight.
He really has been. And I think that's something that we've seen a couple of times before from Del Porto as well. He does a really good job at playing the strategy game and trying different things out.
Wow. Look at this. They're up to a 4-second lead between Bensi and Van de Sant over DeGroot, Del Porto, and Bennett.
That's
it's
massive.
over 4 seconds ahead now. Right at 4 seconds.
It's no competition.
These two are just running away with it.
Just absolutely no competition. I don't know what they've put in these race first cars, but they're incredible right now, the pace that they're pulling off. Yeah, that last lap, half a second faster than third place Nick DeGroot. Half a second at an oval. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. On what are essentially spec cars for everybody except for the paint job.
Yeah, absolutely. So, these guys have done an astounding job to keep themselves up here and to keep extending that gap to these guys behind. Don't get me wrong, we've got a great race going on here with Nick DeGroot, Nick Del Porto, Henry Bennett, all going for the third position. But, these guys are not fighting it out for the win because they're so far back from those two leaders. We've only been green for, maybe 20, 25 laps here? 25 laps here. And they've separated themselves by 5 seconds over the rest of the pack.
And Bennett doesn't really even have to worry. He can just cruise. He's already clinched the championship.
Oh, yeah. Henry Bennett, the big thing for him.
He's racing for pride tonight.
Oh, yeah. Racing for pride, trying to get that Triple Crown, trying to do what nobody has done before in the elite racing leagues to win that Triple Crown, all 3 500s over the course of a season. It doesn't look too likely right now. Obviously, late race caution could change things up, maybe give him a shot, but I think that car has been wounded ever since he got caught up in that incident.
Yeah, he's been... the car hasn't been running right. He's taking a higher line. It's not as consistent, and he's a little slower.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there's some fundamental just damage right now on that one car. He's not showing the pace that we'd expect to see from the one car. But again, doing a good job right now, hanging with these guys. Could certainly still pull off a podium. That would be a very Henry Bennett way to end the night. To still finish in third position despite all of that, but. Yeah, that's been interesting.
I want to take a quick look at the standings here just to see where some of our guys are where our point standings are. If you look at it right now, Bensi's in the best position for second place in the series standings. He's in fourth right now, basically 5 points out of second, and Piñeiro's not racing tonight. Chad Frankenfield is in the top 10. He's worked his way back up into ninth just through attrition, so he will get some benefit. Del Porto, if he holds on, could benefit as well because he's only about 18. He's 16 points out of second place. Blauman is not going to make as big a gain tonight. And Van de Sant, if he holds on and wins this thing, he could easily take over second place.
Yeah, so it's all to play for because when you've got Piñeiro, you got Frankenfield all having, the second and third place guys in the championship having bad nights. This opens the door completely for all of these guys. So yeah, this is going to shake up the championship massively, and of course we go into the double points race at Gateway, and again, so many things can still change here in terms of this championship. I'm curious to see what the final result is and how that all pans out, but. Look to Caleb Bensi, Alexander Van de Sant right now being the guys in contention for second place when all is said and done.
Don't forget to join us for the finale of the Mega Player 86 or Mega Driver 86 IndyCar Series on the Elite Racing League and the Elite Racing Channel. That's coming up June 11th from Worldwide Technologies Raceway at Gateway. We will be here on the YouTube Elite Racing Channel at 7:30 Eastern Time on June 11th.
Yeah, can't wait for that event. Gateway always puts on an exceptional race.
25 to go.
Yeah, with these Indy cars, this race is coming down pretty quickly. No, you're good. The question mark is Caleb Bensi, lap 53 on this stint. This car is going to have to come down pit road in a lap or two.
Any time now.
Yeah.
The question is, can he build up enough of it? He's got a 2-second lead. Is he going to do it this time by? No. He's going to try to. He's got to make a decision here at some point.
Yeah, it's going to be relatively soon, but when he does pit in, Alexander Van de Sant will then take over the lead with a 6-second lead over third place, or will eventually second place, Nick DeGroot. I think for Caleb Bensi, I just think it's just not going to work. He's going to end up, a lap, maybe two, probably a lap down here from, the leaders at the end of this race, and I don't think he's going to be able to finish much higher than, maybe, 7th place?
He's going to be lucky if he's in the top 10. Well, he'll be lucky. He might be able to do 7th, maybe 8th at best. Frankenfield's 7 laps down in 9th, so he'll be at least in the top 8.
Yeah, so top 8 guaranteed for Caleb Bensi, despite having to go down a lap soon here. The question is, can he beat Tom Holland and Michael Goodman to being that first car a lap down? Can he somehow get a wave around if we get another caution, get himself back in this race? Right now, Henry Bennett trying to just empty out that tank, trying to pray, hope for a caution to come out.
He's going to come down this time by.
Yep, here we go.
This will be the race for Van de Sant unless we have another caution.
Yeah, so Alexander Van de Sant, teammate for Caleb Bensi, takes over the lead now as Bensi hits pit road. Van de Sant sits now with a 7-second lead, I believe, over second place Nick DeGroot. It'll probably be down to, 4.3 seconds actually, I believe, is the gap to Nick DeGroot. So a little bit smaller than what we saw before.
That may have been counting the distance back to Van de Sant, or I'm sorry, to Bensi.
Yeah, you might be exactly right there.
Because we're looking at we've got one board that shows the interval to how far they are behind the leader, and the other is how far they are behind each other in their gaps.
Yeah, but I will say, Nick DeGroot right now, 3.4 seconds behind Alexander Van de Sant. We saw it at 3.3
He's charging.
Seconds. He is absolutely charging. On that last lap, actually. No, that's legitimate, because on that last lap, Nick DeGroot was almost a second faster than our leader, Alexander Van de Sant. So is Van de Sant having an issue? Is he having to save a ton of fuel right now? Is that why he's so slow? Because Nick DeGroot is charging.
I wonder if it's because these guys are running together in traffic and 2 cars can run together faster than one.
It very well could be, because
of the arrow being able to draft off of each other.
Yeah, this is huge pace
They're
right now.
They're towing each other around right now.
2.6 seconds is now the gap. 2.5. This is dropping
18
so
to
quickly.
go.
This race is far from over. Nick DeGroot, Victor Del Porto, Henry Bennett are all very much back in this event here, with Alexander Van de Sant right now not quite able to pull away from any of these guys, and in fact losing time to them. On that last lap, he did respond, got back down to a 24.9, but man, he lost a lot of time. It was, in fact, 6 seconds, I think, the gap interval between Van de Sant and DeGroot. He's brought it down to 2.5 seconds.
And there weren't any lapped cars he had to slow down for.
Is DeGroot, though, being held up right now by the 31 car, Tom Holland in 6th position. Is that potentially right now hurting Nick DeGroot as that kind of charge has stopped here at 2.6, 2.7 seconds? And Victor Del Porto back behind. That's so interesting. That was just that sudden.
If I'm Nick DeGroot, I'm yelling for race control to get him out of the way.
Yeah, I'm curious, because he's losing time here, but there was just that sudden surge of pace from Nick DeGroot as Alexander Van de Sant fell back. But now on that last lap, Van de Sant was 0.2 of a second faster than DeGroot again. So, yeah, I don't know what the heck happened there, but yeah, really interesting, really intriguing there in terms of whatever happened to that 97 car.
Van de Sant's figured out that he can now go ahead and gun it. He's safe to go, so he's just opening it up a little bit. He's up to 2.5 seconds now.
Yeah.
And the second pack is that first pack in second, third place is not even getting up close to Holland now to for him to be a factor to them.
.2 seconds the gap between Van de Sant and DeGroot. DeGroot, though, having to, there might even be a little bit of a gentleman's agreement right now between DeGroot and nope, never mind. I was going to say maybe those two just working together to try and close the gap to the leader, but Del Porto trying to get past Nick DeGroot right now, possibly slowing those two up if they are fighting out for position. I think if Del Porto and Bennett get in line with Nick DeGroot, I think the three of them can move forward very quickly and get to the back of Alexander Van de Sant.
But they've got to get past Tom Holland first.
Yeah, they certainly do. But I think Tom Holland is actually holding his own pretty well. Hasn't really been losing much time, and they're still closing pretty quickly here on Alexander Van de Sant. Again, that last lap, a couple of tenths faster, that half a second faster on that last lap for DeGroot. The gap is now 1.6 seconds between
Del
our
Porto
leaders.
went high and almost got around DeGroot.
Oh, Del Porto now looking to the inside. Could Del Porto be making a move, and could this be the move for the win here with...
There we go.
Yeah, we're just coming up to 10 laps to go in this race. 11 laps as we cross the line this time by, and it's 1.6 seconds and shrinking quickly between Van de Sant and Del Porto now.
Down to 1.3 seconds.
That second car in your shot is going to be your leader, Alexander Van de Sant. Right in front of him is Tom Holland, and right in front of Victor Del Porto is Tom Holland. But here we go. This is the gap that you're looking at if you're Victor Del Porto, and you can see that leader now. You can start smelling blood in the water. You're starting to push just that little bit extra to try and close this gap down. What has happened to Alexander Van de Sant that's allowed the rest of this field to come back and attack him late in this race?
If that was his last set of tires, they're starting to fall off now.
They certainly are, yeah. This is huge here. The question is, can Del Porto get there in time? He is now starting to close in pretty quickly on Tom Holland, and now will Tom Holland get out of the way and allow Del Porto to go and chase down our leader as the gap is now under 1 second?
Yes, he gets out of the way.
There we go. Good man, Tom Holland. Getting out of the way here, Victor Del Porto. Possibly he does. He does back off the corner. And here we go. We've now got a straight fight. Victor Del Porto, 0.8 of a second behind our leader, Alexander Van de Sant. This is going to be one hell of a finish, and there's a caution.
Oh.
On the racetrack.
What happened?
Oh, man. Who slowed? I can't even see.
Chad
Frankenfield, I think it was. Yep, Chad Frankenfield. Toes back onto pit road. We're going to take a look at the iRace online replay. What happened to the 15 car, bringing out the caution here late in the race. The question is, can they get back to green flag racing before we, lap 327? Will they get back to green flag racing before we finish this race?
It's going to be close.
It's going to be very close. So Chad Frankenfield dives down to pit road, just loses it on the apron, and brings out a caution, very similar to what Alexander Van de Sant did there.
And got back up onto the track and
Yep.
stopped. That's, yeah.
Yep. Almost exactly the same as what happened to Van de Sant. And there we go. Back on the racetrack then. So Chad Frankenfield, yeah, all of these guys here, nobody has fresh tires to take. Maybe Del Porto.
And everybody's okay on fuel.
Yeah, Del Porto and Marquez do come down, so maybe they do. So that could be very interesting. Van de Sant, DeGroot, Bennett, stay out. Henry Bennett. Imagine if he pulls this race off here. Imagine the scenes. Henry Bennett right now sitting in the third position. We think that Alexander Van de Sant's tires are completely shot.
Now, is Bensi going to get the wave around this time around?
I don't think he will, because Van de Sant did not come down pit road, so it's only if you're ahead of the leader, if you're between the pace car and the leader, and Bensi is not. So Bensi's going to be trapped a lap down here. So is Tom Holland, I believe, and he's going to be stuck restarting.
Well, that's Bensi, and Bensi is off on the right, running right next to the pace car. That's the 21 of Bensi.
No, Caleb Bensi is back here.
Okay. My apologies. The 97. That the numbers look.
Ooh.
Van de Sant's pitting.
Van de Sant. Okay. Is this a fake though? Let's take a look here. What's the call from Alexander Van de Sant? Does he have a fresh set of tires that he's gonna take? I think he does. I'm not gonna call it until he's below that cone. Oh,
nope,
Van
he's faking everybody.
Almost caught us there. Oh, man.
But somebody pitted.
Somebody did come down pit road. Who was that? That's Michael Goodman in the number 44, so he's bringing that car down pit road. Mark Rabilas also down pit road. Brian Blauman, who got himself back up and running 13 laps down, though, is back on pit road. Man, this is... I don't know who to call this for. For me, I think Nick DeGroot's got the best shot right now. I think Van de Sant doesn't have tires left on that car. DeGroot, I think, has some tires left on. Yeah. Bennett, I think, has a damaged car. Del Porto, though, if Del Porto got fresh tires, starting in fourth position, he could be a massive threat here for this win.
Yep. And is that a lapped car in front of him?
It is. So that's the big question mark as well, is where do the lapped cars play out in this order? And also, do we go back to green flag racing immediately? The lights are still out on this pace car. We could only have maybe 2 or 3 laps, not even, of green flag racing to finish off this event.
So let's see. If the lights come off this time by, we'll start lap 330. We would start lap 331 and have 3 laps or 4 laps.
Yeah, let's see. I want to actually ask because we've seen a couple of times before, excuse me, late in the race, where they don't actually run that extra caution lap.
Yeah, we need to know from race control what's going to happen there.
Yeah, just sending a message to
I
race
can BS for a second while you check. As Van de Sant does the fake move down, running the inside of the apron, we do have another car heading down pit road. That, I believe, would be Tom Holland. And the 31 is getting out of the way and going down the pits. So as we hit the tri-oval this time around, 5 laps to go. Lights are out on the pace car.
I hope we go green this time. I really hope we go green this time. Yes, there is an extra caution lap. Never mind. So we will go back to green with 3 laps to go.
This is a shootout, folks. Van de Sant is your leader. Nick DeGroot second. Henry Bennett, the series champion for the 2nd straight season already, even with 1 race left to go, is in 3rd. Victor Del Porto is in 4th. Andrew Marquez is 5th. 5 cars on the lead lap. 5 cars. Any one of these 5 could win it, but you've got to think that Van de Sant's tires are basically almost bald.
Well,
right now, because he's got what? How many laps does he have on those tires?
Van de Sant has 54 laps. So he has 54 laps on those tires, same as DeGroot and Bennett, but I think he wore through those tires a lot quicker than those 2.
Yeah, and Del Porto has fresh tires. Here we go. 1 lap to go before we go back to green.
So, yeah, we're going to have 3 green flag laps to finish off this race. It's anybody's race here. The problem is that Van de Sant, it's really 2.5 laps because Van de Sant's going to have that half-lap lead or that half a lap to kind of extend that lead before someone like DeGroot and Bennett come back at him. So 2.5 laps realistically of racing for this lead.
All right,
it could be any of these top 5 drivers, honestly. We know how strong Marquez is on restarts. We know Victor Del Porto has fresh tires. Henry Bennett, we know nobody gets it done at the end of a race like Henry Bennett. And Nick DeGroot right now in prime position to pounce on Van de Sant. We're getting ready to go back to green flag racing here. 3 laps to go.
It's 24 seconds for a lap around Texas. How long can you hold your breath? We've got 3 to go when we hit the line. Let's watch as Van de Sant starts to put the hammer down and pull away from Nick DeGroot as they head down towards the starting line in the tri-oval. Here we go. We're back up to full speed. 3 to go at Texas. DeGroot making a move on the inside. Van de Sant holding on. Nick DeGroot all over his tail, going high, coming out on the backstretch.
Yeah, Nick DeGroot not giving Van de Sant a chance to run away here, and DeGroot looking to the outside, trying to see if he can make the move. Van de Sant, though, holds on for another lap. We're coming to 2 laps to go.
Let's watch as they hit the tri-oval now. What will Nick DeGroot do this time by? Van de Sant leading into turn 1, taking that low line, protecting the inside of the track. DeGroot goes high.
DeGroot goes high. He's going to get the run off the corner, but Van de Sant might have just enough in those tires right now. Here comes Del Porto.
Del Porto's by Bennett. Coming down to the line. 1 to go. The Whiskey Cast last lap, the last call. If you're into whiskeys, you definitely want to listen to Whiskey Cast. 24 seconds left to go in the race. Call it, Rish.
Here we go. Well, Alexander Van de Sant has done everything he needed to do. Victor Del Porto doing his best to get past Nick DeGroot, but it's not going to be enough because Van de Sant hangs on with whatever's left of those tires, and Van de Sant will win here at the safe antifreezing coolants 500 at Texas Motor Speedway. What a drive by the number 97 car there. Alexander Van de Sant beating Victor Del Porto over Nick DeGroot, over Andrew Marquez, and Henry Bennett rounds out the top 5 there. Man, what a drive by Van de Sant.
No Triple Crown for Henry Bennett. 1.7 or 17/100ths of a second win for Van de Sant over Del Porto. 5 cars on the lead lap at the finish, and Alexander Van de Sant takes home the win tonight.
Yeah, what a drive there. Incredible job. I mean, I doubt there were any tires left on that number 97 car. I'd love to talk to him and ask what percentage those tires were on, because it certainly looked like he didn't have much left in the tank, but it was just enough for him to stay ahead of Victor Del Porto. I think one more lap, and you might have seen, into the wall there with the celebratory donuts. But
yeah,
the
tires didn't even make it through the donuts.
Yeah, one more lap, and I think Del Porto might have gotten him with those fresh tires. A big shout out to Del Porto for making that call, giving up that track position to go for it, and grabbing that second place. But what a drive by Alexander Van de Sant to win here at Texas.
The 50 points for Van de Sant should elevate him into second. Chad Frankenfield was in second. He's being shown as finishing in 11th out of the top 10. Let's see. Bensi was a lap down in 6th. He will get some, but it's going to be a question of whether that will be enough. And same with Del Porto. Del Porto should be 3rd or 4th when this is all said and done. Adriano Pinheiro, who was in second, did not race tonight, so will get no points. Henry Bennett clearly has already wrapped up the championship, but it is going to be a tight battle for second place between Chad Frankenfield, Caleb Bensi, Victor Del Porto, and Alexander Van de Sant.
Yeah, speaking of Van de Sant, let's bring him into the broadcast booth for the first time this season. Alexander Van de Sant, victory lane, man. What a drive there, hanging on. I got to ask, what was the percentage on your tires left at the end of that race? Because it looked in that final run before that last caution that you didn't really have much left on that car.
Dang, I forgot to check. I'll check VRS later. But yeah, that was, it probably wasn't too bad because I was running in map 5 for so much of that last stint. Had a bit of clean air once I lost the draft from Caleb. But yeah, I just had to hang on. I knew, from previous races here, it's so hard to pass the leader unless they make a mistake or open the door. So I just had to hug the inside and hope I had enough there, and I ended up being enough.
Alex, we know that you were following your teammate Caleb Bensi after that last caution. You knew he was going to have to pit at some point, right?
I did, and I was making enough fuel when he was battling with Brian, I think it was. But once they had their moment, it was some weird net code that I saw. Just with one car draft, it wasn't going to be enough fuel for me. So I thought I would be able to give myself a buffer until he pit, and then maybe hope for a caution at some point, which, we got lucky with that. Caleb didn't, but, I feel bad for him that he drove an awesome race there.
Well, Alex, I mean, obviously you're in that tight battle for second place in the standings. Henry Bennett's kind of run away with the championship itself, but
he's clinched it.
Yeah, he's clinched it. Absolutely.
He clinched it when the green flag dropped.
Yep.
But still, that super tight battle for that runner-up prize. This should vault you into second place now heading into Gateway. Obviously, it's double points. A lot can happen at Gateway, but surely you must be pretty pleased grabbing that first win of the season, now being in that best position heading into the final race of the season, so that you can be best of the rest here outside of Henry Bennett.
Oh, for sure. Second place is definitely, I'm in second now. So going into Gateway, I'm not the best at Gateway, but I'm very strong on short tracks overall. So, I've really improved a lot since last season there. So yeah, really optimistic for that. But yeah, just glad to take my first win in this series over 2 seasons, actually. My only other win in ERL is in the truck series this season. So, really happy I finally got one of these.
Who do you want to give shout outs to besides your teammates at Race First?
Yeah, well, big thanks to Caleb, of course. I mean, he was right there. And then Race First Broadcasting, as well as Happy Trails Chili Company.
All right. Congratulations, Alex. A great race tonight. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Enjoy the time off, and we'll see you at Gateway in a few weeks.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That's our winner tonight, Alexander Van de Sant. Let's bring in Victor Del Porto now, our second place runner-up. Victor, great run tonight. We really thought that once you pitted at the end there for the fresh tires, we thought you were going to be the only one who might have a chance to take it from Alexander.
Yeah, good evening for you. Yes, I was trying to save it more fuel, and then when it was 10 laps to go, I think it was nice to end the race, and then they'll come out and end my opportunity to win this race.
Yeah,
Rich?
talk us through that kind of second to last stint there. I guess the long one right before that late race caution, and the fact that, I mean, you were closing in on Alexander by up to half a second a lap, that kind of thing. What were you seeing in the car, and did you know what was going on with Alex Van der Sande, or did you just see that gap continuously shrinking and thinking, all right, this is coming to me?
Yeah, when the race restarted with, I think, 55 laps to go, I tried to focus and follow Alexander, but he was so fast, then I thought he was not saving enough fuel to end the race. So that was my idea, to be behind Nick and Henry, to try to save fuel. And then I saw him... I closing the gap to him.
How were you able to get 60 laps in a stint? A couple of times during the race tonight, you were doing 60 laps of green flag running, and everybody else we saw was having to pit with 54 to 55, and we caught you doing 60.
Yeah, I was using less throttle and map engine to save fuel, but was really difficult to maintain the gap for the other cars, because some are trying to save, others are trying to only battle with the others. So when I don't think how can I say this, but it was nice when I got this kind of strategy and do a 60 or 58, 59 laps.
All right, you are right in a neck-and-neck battle with about half a dozen other guys for second place in the season standings going into the double points finale at Gateway in a couple of weeks. Give us your thoughts on the season overall and where you think you're going to wind up after the last race.
Oh, yeah. The season was very inconstant for me, because I got some top fives, and then other races I crashed or did a wrong strategy. But I'm still trying to be second place in the season, and I think in Gateway depends on the setup. I don't think it will be easy to battle with the other guys, and he was simple the best driver this season. He dominated all the season, so I think it will be a very tough race, the last one in Gateway.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Victor. Congratulations on a great race tonight. Our runner-up is Victor Del Porto. Anybody you want to give a quick shout-out to?
Oh, thank you. I think you understand what I think. Sorry, I think you understand what I said, right?
Yes.
Thank you. So I want to say thank you to everybody who watched my onboard camera on Twitch. My channel is Victor Del Porto Racer. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, my teammate Eric Troiano, who unfortunately crashed today with 30 or 40 laps. That's it. Thank you very much, and let's try to be second place in the season again.
All right. Thanks again, Victor. Have a great time off. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
See you.
All right. That's Victor Del Porto, our runner-up tonight. Joining us now, Nick DeGroot, third place finisher tonight. Nick, this is your best race of the year so far.
Yeah, it's been a tough season. We really needed that result, but man, right at the finish there, I really wanted that win. I wasn't thinking top three. I was thinking I was going to win that race, but just didn't pan out.
We thought you had a pretty good shot at it, especially when Caleb Bensey had to pit there towards the end. We weren't sure where Alex was on his tires, but we thought you had a good shot along with the Victor.
Yeah, it's just so hard to pass the leader here, and I knew really the only chance I was going to have in him was going to be on that restart if I could get under him. But he was guarding that bottom so well, and I knew when I saw Victor coming, I was out of time because he had 60 lap fresher tires than us, and he got me no problem. And I think he would have got Alex too if he had another lap. But yeah, we played the fuel game. I think that was going to work for at least a top three. Got the caution, still ended up with the top three. So overall, it was a good night for the factory back bunch.
Rish?
Yeah, I mean, Nick, first of all, congratulations on the top three finish here tonight. I wanted to ask about track conditions today. You were one of the few guys who could kind of make moves every now and then up on the top side. You could definitely get side by side. We could see other guys get side by side, but you were the only one who was maybe able to make some passes, especially down in 3 and 4. Well, what was it that you were able to kind of work with and be able to get side by side with guys and actually get those runs to overtake guys on that top lane, because it didn't quite come in for a lot of the race like we might have expected it to.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I had, but I definitely could tell her in that race that I was able to make that work. And that was kind of my mindset at the end after I couldn't get him on the restart. Well, I'll get a huge run on the outside, and I didn't really take into account the 60 lap old tires, and I almost ended up in the wall there in turn 1 and 2. But yeah, I love working the high side here. Motegi, Kentucky, a few other tracks. I'm a high side guy. When there's clean air, I'm going for it. I don't care where it is.
Nick, we know you write about the racing world and the real world. Give us your thoughts on the week so far at Indy and the real Indy cars.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's pretty cool to be iRacing, sitting here practicing for the iRacing 8500s for this Texas race, and then right next to you have the real guys practicing for their 500 on your computer. It's pretty cool. But yeah, this week it looks like it's going to be such a competitive race. I think Honda has the upper hand, and those Ganassi cars look extremely quick. So I think Scott Dixon's going to have a real shot at taking number 2 here. It's been a while since we saw him win at Indy, so I think he's going to have a real shot. But overall, I think it's going to be tough to pass. Real difficult, hard race, and depending on how the temperatures are Sunday, could get a little slick too.
All right, Nick, thank you for spending some time with us in the room afterwards. Congratulations on a great run, and we know you have to get back up in the morning for qualifying day tomorrow in the real world. So.
Yep, and I'm running the iRacing Indy 500 in the morning, so it's going to be a big day tomorrow.
All right, have a good luck in that one, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks at Gateway.
Thank you, guys.
That's Nick DeGroot, our third place winner tonight. And now let's talk to the champ again, Henry.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Congratulations. As soon as the green flag dropped, you clinched the series title and almost pulled off the Triple Crown tonight.
Yeah. I guess the title was no longer in question after Indy, but yeah, got really lucky all season really with good results, especially in the other 2 Triple Crown races. Pretty happy. Seal it with 1 race to go, and yeah, I can just enjoy the next race.
I'm not quite sure.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm not quite sure I'd call winning 2 of the Triple Crown races lucky, but yeah, that works, Henry.
Tell us about the crash where you sort of got caught up in somebody else's incident. I'm trying to remember. That was, I think, Jared Rexing's crash.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the smoke as we came out of turn 2. We saw there's a car sideways across the track, but my vision was blocked by Brian, who was just ahead of me. So I wasn't sure where the car was going to end up, and then Brian moved up, avoided the car at the last second, so I could see where it was, and I couldn't. It was in the middle of the track. I couldn't make it to the left of the car in time, so I went for the gap on the right. I mean, the car was stationary, and it seemed like there was just about a car's width on the right of the car between the car and the wall. So I went for that. But yeah, it seemed like the net code got me on the left side of my car, ripped my left front tire off, and I got the wall on the right side of the car. But amazingly, my pit crew managed to fix the suspension, but they didn't bother with fixing the side pod damage on the right side of the car. So the side pod damage was slowing me down all race. Had no top speed and was down a bit on downforce as well. So it was a
We were wondering what damage was left over that was causing it, because we noticed you slowing down a lot after that, and we knew there had to be something there, but so it was aero issues mostly with the side pods, right?
yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, you'd think they'd be able to fix that if they can fix the whole corner of suspension. But yeah, I mean, at the start of stints, I could keep up. Once when I still had the tires underneath me, I could keep up in the draft and use that to maintain my top speed. But once the tires went, it became more and more difficult to keep up in the draft. And when I lost the draft, then I'd have no chance. I was just off pace. So the cautions and the fuel saving just really helped me out to keep up with the pack. So without that, I probably would have finished a couple laps down.
Well, you still pulled out a top 5 tonight, and even though you didn't need the extra points to close out the title, it's still a good night overall, right?
Oh yeah, top five's great. I mean, I've had much worse results in this series, and top 5 is always to be celebrated. But yeah, it's frustrating though, because I was in with a chance of winning the Triple Crown, and with that damage midway through, it just made it a tinge of disappointment that I couldn't compete for that at the end. Because Triple Crowns are so rare to win all 3.
Rish?
Yeah, I mean, obviously wrapping up the championship so early, kind of the Triple Crown behind you. What's the mindset going into Gateway? Do you still go for it, gunning for that win, or kind of, relax, enjoy the race a little bit, and watch as that battle for second takes place in front of you?
I think I can't really change the approach. I mean, I guess when you're going for the championship, you're a bit more cautious. So maybe I can be a bit less cautious and just go for the win, because I've got nothing to lose. Obviously, don't take any risks with other drivers, because they're still running for points, and second is very close in the championship. The race for second is very close in the championship, so don't want to ruin anyone else's race, but give it my all to win another race this season.
All right, let's let you get some sleep, because I know it is getting real close to 4 in the morning there, and it's been a long night for you.
It has, yep. It's not quite getting light, but yeah, it will be soon. So I better head to bed. But thanks, guys.
Okay, that's our 5th place finisher tonight and the series champion for the 2nd straight season, Henry Bennett. Rish, any final thoughts tonight?
I mean, what a crazy race, right? I mean, it's the way this whole thing panned out. Compared to, when you look at the 5 guys that we were really looking at early on in the event, and then you talk about, the Chad Frankenfield dominance in the middle, and then how the race first guys came up front, and it was Van de Sant and Bency, and then the way strategy played out. There were so many different stages of this race, and you expect that in a 500-mile race, but I mean, fantastic drive by Alexander Van de Sant to keep that car on the road, even after that spin, bringing out that caution, getting sent to the back, and then coming back up to the front so quickly, and then being back in contention to win the race. Just fantastic driving, and once again, just shows these long races. It's you keep that car in one piece, and you can stay there. I mean, look at Henry Bennett, bringing that car across line P5. Literally had the left wheel ripped off the car, and yeah, so comes home P5 here. Excuse me, wins the championship. Yeah, I mean, just the series is incredible. I'm looking forward to Gateway, but really looking forward for us to get the next season up going, because I think there's a lot of talent that's been cultivated this season, and I'm looking at guys like Fody, like Blauman. I'm looking at Van de Sant to put together a proper championship run, Pinheiro to be more consistent. There's a lot of talent in this field to put together championship runs to try and, stop Henry Bennett from going 3 times on the trot. That for me is what I'm really, really looking forward to. But we still got one more race here to finish off the season.
And that race is coming up June 11th at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. June 11th, 7:30 Eastern Time on the Elite Racing YouTube channel. That'll do it for us tonight from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, the Safe Antifreeze and Coolants 500. Once again, thank you for joining us, and congratulations to our winner, Alex Van de Sant. For Rish Kozla, I'm Mark Gillespie. Enjoy your racing this weekend, whether you're watching Indy, Monaco, or whatever, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks at Gateway. Good night, all.